Wheeling Plan Commission meeting for Thursday, September 26th is called to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Secretary, could you please take roll?
Commissioner Dorband.
I'm here.
Commissioner Johnson, I'm here. Commissioner Powers.
I'm here.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Here.
Commissioner Stylen.
I'm here.
Commissioner Zangara.
I'm here.
And Chairman Raffato.
Here.
Mr. Jennings, any changes to the agenda?
You do have a revised agenda in front of you. There are no changes following the revisions to the agenda.
Okay. Citizen concerns and comments. These are general concerns or comments that anybody might have, not specific to the items for review tonight. Nope. Okay. Consent item, docket number SCBA 13-29, Dunkin' Donuts, 215 East Dundee Road. Appearance approval of a wall sign. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Dorband, second by Commissioner Johnson. Mr. Secretary.
Commissioner Dorband.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, I vote yes. Commissioner Powers.
Yes.
Commissioner Schaaf.
Yes.
Commissioner Stylen.
No.
Commissioner Zangara.
Yes.
And Chairman Raffato.
Yes. Thank you. Calling docket number 2013-20, which is continued from September 19th, 2013. Spears Bourbon Burgers and Beer, 723 North Milwaukee Avenue. Special use site plan approval for a sit-down restaurant with entertainment. Mr. Jennings?
Thank you. At the meeting last week, you can come forward. At the meeting last week, the Plan Commission asked the petitioner to submit a couple of items for clarification and revision. Petitioner has submitted those items for review and discussion. The floor plan was updated to indicate the location of a rounded vestibule area, as well as an area that would be used alternately for seating and for a stage when entertainers are present. The details regarding the stonework for the patio were submitted. Details regarding the garage door system were submitted. At this time, staff does have just a couple of minor issues that can be worked out during the permit process. The petitioner's materials have been distributed. We do have some slides, but at this point, I'd like to just hand it back over to the petitioner.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you? So I guess, should we start off with line number 1?
Could you just, yeah.
Joe Romeo, R-O-M-E-O. Patrick Sorrentino. Yeah, I think I So I guess number 1, should I go ahead?
Sure.
Was the garage doors, the overhead door system shall be provided, by code compliance? Absolutely. I think there's a picture that we sent you guys.
The Plan Commission packet does have everything in it. I don't believe we have everything in the slides.
All right. Number 2 was the work with staff to locate bike racks to accommodate 4 bikes. Absolutely. I did talk to the landlord, and again, we sent specs on that. I just don't know where he's going to allow it. So we did, take care of that. Number 3, the stone, the material up for the patio be submitted for review, which we did that. I think there's a picture of that as well. The entry area may be reconfigured to include a vestibule and a screening for restroom entrance. On the new plans, it shows that. Number 5, the live entertainment to be limited to 1 to 4 performers. It shall be located at the northwest corner of the restaurant. It does show that on the plans. That the hours of operation shall be whatever the city allows us to be. Confirmed distance from the fire pit, it was confirmed, 15 feet away from the entrance. Any questions?
Is that it?
That's it. There was what you guys wanted to go over.
Okay. At this time, is there anyone in the audience that has any questions about this docket? Any comments? Okay, we'll go to the board. We'll start with Commissioner Zangara.
Obviously, most of my questions were answered. I did have a question, I'm not sure if it was brought up, with the fire pit.
Okay.
Is it a gas fire pit or is it natural?
It's gas, yes. And there's a quick shut-off at the pit itself and at the inside. So there's 2 shut-offs on that.
Okay.
2 quick shut-offs, I guess they call it.
And then with the vestibule, I do like the vestibule. Is that, would that be enough without doors there to deflect any?
Yes, there's a hostess station as well right there.
Okay.
So yes, I went over with the architect and he said it would absolutely work.
Okay. Everything else, I mean, I enjoyed seeing the bathrooms away from the
We
entrance.
moved them out of there, so.
So, other than that, I have nothing. Everything else was answered.
Great. Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since the plan last week, did you actually add more seats to the interior, or no?
The stage area, there's seats on top of that. That's the only thing that was added, was a stage, so we put the seats on top of there.
Okay.
Because when it's not being used, we're going to go ahead and use that for seats.
Okay, I like the way you redesign the interior. It seems to flow a lot better. Do we need to discuss like what color garage door is, and then like the type of glass you're gonna be putting in the door at all?
Yeah, it's going to be glass plated, and it's just going to match the outside of the building. It's going to be silver, like the building, the aluminum that's out there already. We're not going to,
So it'll be like a clear glass, and it just won't be smoked or anything like that?
no, nothing.
And in the vestibule area, is that going to be like a glass vestibule that's going to have like etched glass in there, or is that going to just be like a regular?
It's going to, the radius is going to be like a barrel, like an actual barrel. So that's what they're going to shape it out to be with pallet boards.
Okay. I think last week we talked about light fixtures on the outside of the building. Were we not changing those at all? Or were we satisfied with the lighting in the patio area? Because I know that did come up, but were we sticking with those lighting fixtures, or do we have to stick with those, or were we going to go with something different?
I think what we're anticipating is that the business would need a sign package and is working with the landlord on some landlord improvements related to the canopy area, possible painting of the trim, painting of the roof, replacement of the awning. So there would be a minor appearance approval subject. All of that would fall under. So
And that would come before us, correct?
it would need to come in front of the commission.
Okay. Were you going with the existing awnings? Because the awnings on the building now, I guess looking at this picture here, it's kind of like a greenish gray, and the ones that I see on the new rendering are like black. Were they going to replace all the awnings around that whole building?
All the awnings, they're going to repaint the whole facility. They're
Okay.
changing out all the awnings. They're actually, it's going to be totally different. Our logo has burgundy in it, so the dome and the steel going around it is going to be burgundy. So he's putting a lot of money on the outside as well, yes. So for us to move in there, you know, we're spending money and he's spending money as well.
Yeah, it really looks sharp.
And by the way, the patio and the railing, we took the wood off it, so.
One more thing is, does there need to be a designated smoking area outside for this establishment at all? I know, I don't know if there is one like for Cooper's Hawk. Do we need to designate a smoking area? Andrew, do you know?
There are restrictions based on the openings in the building. They would have to work with the landlord to find a location. The likely issue that you're going to run into is proximity to the other doors of the other units. In this photograph, just looking at how this building is configured, the likely smoking area would probably be out in front, separated from the dining area by the minimum 15 feet. So They would be limited into where they could put it, but at the discretion of the commission and the board, we could require a condition of approval that they designate a smoking area.
Cooper's doesn't have a smoking area, and I hate smoking, so, I mean, so I'm definitely
Okay,
gonna
I mean,
keep it
it's
out
just
of there.
something that I had in my mind. I don't know if it's necessary, but I just thought I'd bring it up. And the only thing I had left was, is there any way that on the railings of the patio, that the patio railings, that you could put a couple of planter boxes, hang off of there and put some like flowers in there or something?
Yeah,
To like spruce it up?
absolutely. I actually like that, so yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That's-
The iron guys can actually put the planter boxes right onto it, so it can be one unit, yes.
Yeah, that would be nice. It looks great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dorbin.
Thank you. I have one question about the wrought iron fence. The picture appears to be wrought iron all the way through top to bottom, but the information that you have on the cut sheet shows a wood cap. So
You
which
guys
is
didn't
it?
seem too happy about the wood cap last time, so I did remove it since I was with the architect, so I go, we don't even need a wood cap. It didn't make.
Okay, so the wood cap is going to be removed. I just think we need to note that on our minutes somehow so that everybody knows that. And the other question I had, I know, the other comment I had was thank you for the information on the recycled brick, because I found that very interesting.
Great.
So I appreciate that. That's all the questions I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schaaf.
I really have no questions or comments. Thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys getting back to us so quick with all these updates. I think all my questions have been answered. Thanks.
Thank you.
Commissioner Steilen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really like the changes that you made. My only concern is the outdoor lighting in the patio area. And I'm just wondering, you have 6 brick entities that kind of spread or connect the railings. Any chance in putting some kind of nice
I talked about the
small-
light going under the steel that was
Right.
coming down with the LED lights. Yes, I did talk about it. And then my architect said the flame coming out of there, you'll see it much better from the street. So he goes, he can go either way, but I couldn't get it into the plan quick enough. So I'm still in the process. Do I want it? Absolutely. So it's just a change I could make, yes.
You know, I was just thinking some nice small, lights on top of those brick pillars might add some ambience and bring a little bit more
I think the
focus.
flame will bring a lot too.
Well, I think so too, yeah.
But yes, I definitely can work towards that.
But I would like to ensure somehow that the lighting is going to be an appropriate level for the outside area. That's my only concern, Mr. Chairman.
You notice we took the radius off there too. There was that concrete radius. We moved that off. So by chance, we can sit there and move the patio out more if they let us.
Andrew, how do we address
Good idea.
Commissioner
There you
Steilen?
go.
I think minor architectural lighting like that, I think, is relatively minor, and we can work with them on it.
Can we put a condition in?
Sure, regarding the lighting.
Right.
We are expecting at this point the building owner to come to us with a package for the painting of the building, but this would be very specific to this unit, so it would be appropriate on their special use.
Okay. Great.
We would love to change the lighting outside, but it's just not going to match the rest of the building. It will look funny, so it's not ours to touch, really.
Understood. Okay. Ron, any comments?
In regards to Commissioner Steilen about the lighting in that outdoor area, since that is an occupiable space, there is a provision in the building code that calls for a specific amount of lighting at the floor level that they would have to meet because it is an occupiable space. Most of the changes that they've made, as far as the fireplace and everything else, they're all, may need some minor tweaking, but that would be typical through the building permit process. And I guess I'd like a clarification from the petitioner, because when I counted the seating this time, there's 110 seats inside, and I believe it was 90 last time. So either I counted wrong last time.
I was just trying to make changes to go with the
Okay.
board, so it was really me talking to the architect over the phone, so I couldn't even answer that.
Okay,
So
but it
we're only
doesn't-
doing what the space really allows us to do.
Well, and the amount of seating that you have without having square footage and dimensions,
I think it's 3
it
foot.
appears to be within the code requirements, but it does appear that there is increase in interior seating.
Everything's per code, so absolutely. But
Just
for the lighting outside, I just want to say one thing. The garage doors are all clear, so when the place is lit on the inside, it's really going to draw attention to the outside as well, because you have the garage patio doors on each side that are clear glass, so I think it's going to shine through real well. So that whole front entrance.
Andrew, the parking, I mean, the number of seats, if this is going to be the final, it's different than what we have, so.
Sure, the motion, as it's written right now, references this particular floor plan.
Okay.
And the number of seats on this floor plan. This particular plan unit development is a little bit unique in the way that parking is calculated for restaurants. So in a sense, what we've done in these different reports that have come through for this PUD, we typically calculate it both ways. The standard code requirement, just to illustrate how that would calculate if applied, and the PUD requirement, which is 10 per thousand. In this case, they were under, they were one of the only restaurants we've had that was under what the PUD would have been. So adding the seats does not have an impact on the parking calculation. Again, that's because of the unique layout. There's a lot of floor area that isn't used for seating in this particular restaurant. Just worked out kind of an unusual way.
Okay, great. Are there any other questions? No? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Powers, seconded by Commissioner Stylen, but Mr. Jennings, if you could read the conditions.
Sure. Number one, we just rephrased, we still need to work on the permitting related to the garage doors. So the first condition now reads that the overhead door system should be modified as needed to meet code requirements for separating food preparation areas from the outdoors. It's just a matter of working with your architect on the permit, as I said. Number two, the petitioner work with staff to locate code compliant bike racks to accommodate 4 bikes. This is again with the landlord's assistance on that. Number three, that the live entertainment is to be limited to 1 to 4 performers. Number four, we inserted the hours of operation that were assigned from the last special use at this PUD, and that was 11 to midnight, Sunday through Wednesday, and 11 to 2 a.m. Thursday through Saturday. The liquor code would allow up to 2 a.m. Daily, I believe, 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. daily. So we had inserted the last one that was done here. And I think we would probably need to just confirm that with the commission.
Is there, you okay? I mean,
You were requesting whatever the liquor license
Yeah.
allows.
Yeah.
It could be just easily written to reflect that.
So you repeat the hours one more time?
We inserted a placeholder based on the last restaurant. The last restaurant did not request anything specific, so we just repeated what was on the last restaurant. So what the request of this particular petitioner was whatever is allowed, and the liquor code would allow through 2 a.m. daily.
We're not going to be open at 7 a.m., I can tell you.
No breakfast?
Gourmet burgers for breakfast.
thank you.
So is the condition to follow the liquor license restrictions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So the condition would be worded then, hours of operation shall be subject to the liquor license regulations, liquor code regulations. Commissioner Powers made the motion. Commissioner Stallings seconded, I believe. Is that modification okay?
Yes.
Number 5, location design of the fire pit is subject to the code, 15 feet from the entrance. Number 6, patio elevation is updated to remove the wood cap on the railing and allow for planter boxes. And number 7 relates to accent lighting. And the direction of the commission was to allow accent lighting in the patio area.
Yes.
Number 7 then reads, accent lighting within the patio area is subject to permit review. And that is it.
Great. Mr. Secretary?
Motion was made by Commissioner Powers, seconded by Commissioner Stylen. Commissioner Powers.
Yes.
Commissioner Stylen.
Yes.
Commissioner Dorband.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson, I say yes. Commissioner Schaaf.
Yes.
Commissioner Zangara.
Yes.
And Chairman Raffato.
Yes. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, guys.
You'll have something to sign.
You need a motion to close on this one?
Motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And you will stay open later on Thursday nights after the Plan Commission meetings, right?
But you got to be out before breakfast.
As a reminder, as we bring up the next petitioner, if anybody wants to speak on any of the agenda items tonight, there is a sign-up sheet here in front. And I believe there's a sign-up sheet for the Estes Express lines. So please sign up. If you don't sign up, you will not have an opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you.
Excuse me, I signed on this sheet. Is it a specific one for the Estes?
I think one of them on the header, there's a header that says Estes on it.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
Sure. Should I wait?
Burgers and beer. I don't know. I think so.
Calling docket number 2013-14, continued from September 12th, 2013 hearing, banquet facility 1918 South Wolf Road, special use site plan approval for an assembly hall. Mr. Jennings?
Thank you. The hearing on September 12th, this docket was opened. The Planning Commission had several questions for the petitioner for clarification. Petitioner and the project architect have revised the floor plan in response to those questions. Just from an operational standpoint, the items that we were referring to were the storage of tables and chairs. They've now indicated an area for that. Seating within the lobby area for smaller events. There were questions related to exiting and how the additional rear exit would look if provided. They have shown that as well. There were, I believe, questions also related to the kitchen layout. At this time, the design of the kitchen, as shown, this could be possibly changed during permit, but as shown, the design of the kitchen would facilitate off-site food preparation, on-site food management. In order to prepare meals for 400, 450 people on-site, the kitchen would need some modification in terms of storing food. So that is something that could be modified during the permit process, but there is a condition of approval in the suggested staff motion that would limit, as shown, to off-site food preparation, catering in, essentially.
Great, thank you. Gentlemen, if you could just give your names again to the recording secretary as you speak. You've all been sworn in, so name and address.
Thanks.
Floor is yours.
Good evening. So we basically made 4 changes to these plans. We have an exit corridor leading to an existing rear exit door. It's a 5-foot wide hallway to make that a legal exit. Adjacent along that hallway, we have a dry storage room that is 25% in terms of square footage of the area of the kitchen. The numbers are a little lower than the Beverly Slaby's original comments, but that's because the kitchen shrunk once we added in this hallway. So there you have that. And then we have a storage room for tables and chairs. And I know I talked to Ron, and there's some concerns that that room is still not large enough. So I've started a dialogue. What we wanted to get a sense of is what percentage of the total number of tables and chairs are required to be stored. And I understand, I talked to Brooke, there is no rule, hard and fast, and also talked to Ron today, and the approach to that is we decide, I haven't even had a chance to talk to my client about this, but you decide that what is the smallest party you're going to have, call it 100 people, store the rest of the tables and chairs. And what we'd like to do to stipulate tonight is we will certainly provide, if we have to increase the size of that room, happy to. But we're hoping we can just stipulate that tonight. I can take out, one table and a bunch of chairs and create a room. The way I sized the room, we have 100% of everything in there. Now it's, we argued about the efficiencies, and even if basically we're talking about storing 75% of the total number of tables and chairs. So I could argue that I could take that 25% of the capacity out of that room that I've drawn, and we would be able to store the tables and chairs. Regardless, we're committing to working with Fire Prevention Bureau and the Building Department to however they want it, to have it proved that we can store the correct number, we'll do that. And I'm hoping that will be sufficient. One other small point, we moved the portable stage to the long wall on the bottom of the drawing to get out of the exitway. And those are the changes since last time.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Aggie?
Right. Oh, I apologize. We also added a proposed lobby seating plan for the times when there will be a small party there. And I also had a conversation with Ron today about if you look at the large-scale plan, we do have 2 exits out of that space. That's the question. Through the south door, and I shouldn't be pointing up in the air, but over to the southerly exit on the east wall of the building.
Great. Thank you. Is that it?
That's it. Sorry, I got nothing.
Are there any from the audience? Are there any questions about this petition? Are there any comments about this petition? No. Okay. We'll go to the Plan Commission, and we will start with Commissioner Powers.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. In the fire department memo, point number 2, they address specific things. They said, like, you're going to need sprinkler system modification, fire alarm system modification, and control panel is going to be changed. Are you guys good with that? And
Yes.
We'll handle that?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. And I know at the meeting last time we were talking about a curtain and divider. You guys have dropped that, correct?
Yeah, it's out. We've withdrawn that aspect of this design.
Andrew, if they were to come back, would they have to come back to us if they wanted to go ahead with something like that, or no?
I think the staff would consider that to be relatively minor and be reviewed under permit. If the planning commission and the board wanted to include some sort of condition of approval relating to that, you certainly could, but based on the information we have, I think our concern is mostly relating to the building code exiting the material that curtain would be made out of, how the sprinkler system is designed. It's really more code related.
Okay. Yeah, the storage room, I guess I'll leave that up to the fire department. I just don't see that being big enough, but I don't see how people are going to be meticulous to take, like, I mean, if you have, let's see, you have about 85 tables in there. I'm not sure, you know, even 75% of that, I don't know how careful they're going to go and stack the tables in there, and then they have the chairs put on the top. I just don't know if somebody's going to be that meticulous to go weightlifting to stack chairs on top of tables, but I guess I'm going to leave that up to whatever you guys want to come up with and agree to, but I think that room's still a little bit too small for that, but that's just my opinion.
It was the architect being optimistic, and it needs to grow. The room needs to grow.
The staff has also discussed amongst ourselves furniture rental. It's certainly possible to keep on site a certain number of tables and then rent an extra 30, 40, 50 as needed.
I know on the previous plan too, there was a talk about an awning. I assume the awning is still part of, is that part going to be part of the sign package that'll come back to us?
We consider the awning, assuming it has no signage on it, we would consider that to be a minor appearance review. We don't have enough detail.
They will come before us with,
yes,
with some details on the awning? Okay, but that wouldn't hold up their initial permit,
They could
correct?
move ahead with it. We do have concerns about the height of the awning, how to manage it, but lacking that detail, we don't have enough to review.
Okay. Okay, the only other thing I have is just my concern of the appearance of the shopping center. The landscaping plan, the additional lighting, is there going to be additional lighting needed in the parking lot? Because the establishment's going to be open later than, I think, really any other use that's currently there, and I don't know if there's adequate lighting. So, you know, I think there was one lighting stand in front of the grocery store. I think it was actually missing a fixture, but, and I know increasing wattage could be a possibility, but I'm just not sure, and I don't feel comfortable that there's enough adequate lighting in the parking lot for the proposed usage. If you're going to have 500 people there, 400 to 500 people, it's going to be a lot of, that parking lot's going to be used. So I don't feel comfortable right now that there's enough lighting in there, but I don't know. I haven't seen anything to change my mind on that. But I have not been there when it's dark either.
Yeah.
In the I don't know, the landscaping in general, I think it's got to change, because I honestly think that's going to affect, you know, what people you're going to be able to attract into the shopping center. And in the special use number 4, it does mention landscaping. It does mention landscaping, and it says sites shall be such that the use will not hinder or discourage the appropriate development and use of adjacent land. And you know, I really think if the landscaping was enhanced, it would help everything in there. You know, once and for all, people would want to, you know, come there. That's really all I have for now.
Thank you. Commissioner Dorbin.
Thank you. Well, I too agree with the lighting issue. I'm concerned about there being not enough, obviously. The other thing is, you know, part of our responsibility is appearance. And I was just there again today, and it really is not looking very good. I mean, there's so many things that could be improved. The sign out in front needs painting. There's no number, there was no address on the major sign out there. A lot of the vegetation is half-dead or non-existent. I just think you could go a long way to appeal, especially to females who would want to have some kind of an event in your location by improving that. And, you know, I guess I'm just disappointed that between the time you were here last and now, that you didn't make a better effort to clean it up and make it look better. I think that that shopping center has potential, but some money needs to be spent on it. And I think it just, to do this facility and not improve the outside, it's kind of like having a beautiful home on the inside and having it all falling apart on the outside.
This proposal is going to cost about $500,000 to $1 million. Property owner's not going to invest that kind of money without fixing the landscaping. You're right, brides aren't going to want to come there right now. But when he invests that kind of money, he will update the landscaping and fix up the outside to make it desirable so that people will come. The space has been vacant for the last 8 years.
But if that's the case, then would you be objectionable to having us put a time frame on it by which you would have to have the landscaping improved?
It would have to be before end of construction because we would like it to look nice so that people will rent it.
Okay, so what would you say is a fair time frame?
Occupancy.
Occupants.
The condition of approval that we had drafted 2 weeks ago, did use final occupancy as the deadline for that, and I can read it off. We did make a slight change to it when we were able to locate the last appearance approval that discusses lighting and landscaping. So it now reads that plans for landscape restoration, lighting, signage, and parking lot repairs using the plan of docket number PC 312 as the minimum standard shall be submitted prior to final occupancy.
And how do we make sure that that is done? Because, we've told people to install lights, but we have to legislate to have them turn them on. So here's a situation where we would go forward with something and not have any way of, following through. We need to have some mechanism by which to have that happen.
Well, occupancy is a pretty significant threshold. In order to achieve a certificate of occupancy, they would need to comply with various building codes that have to be inspected for final inspections on that. The parking lot would have to be inspected for compliance. So it is a pretty significant hook for the contractor and for the property owner.
And what about lighting? Because, if you're going to have to install lighting, that's running light pipe and everything.
They do have a lighting plan. It's not the most detailed plan, but they do have a lighting plan associated with docket number PC 312. There were several the large parking lot standards that you see out there were to be relocated as needed at that time. I think this was 1995-ish.
And if that's the case, can that also be tied to occupancy?
Sure.
That's all I have then.
Thank you. Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you. The interior looks good. I think it could work. It's the exterior that I am also concerned about. The condition of occupancy with the upgrade should satisfy that. I just wish that it could come before the Plan Commission before that, but that's not the plan, Andrew.
What was being contemplated a couple of weeks ago was submittal of an upgrade plan. The way this is phrased right now would be to bring it up to what was last approved prior to occupancy. If they wanted to submit a different plan, they could certainly do that. But As it is right now, the last recorded site plan has lighting, landscaping. It refers to a sign docket. So there's a minimum, that would be the minimum standard. If they want to upgrade the landscaping beyond that minimum standard, they would need to submit a new plan.
And I think that would be a good idea in order for this facility to work. Those are my questions and concerns. Thank you.
Andrew, can we, to bring them up to the docket that you had, can there be a formal review for that to the Plan Commission?
Well, the way that, if you recall, a couple of months ago, we made a slight change to our code to use the last approved site plan as the standard. That is now part of our sign-off on a building permit. So when a building permit applicant receives their building permit, they sign off on a piece of paper that says, we acknowledge that the last approved site plan. So this is really just reinforcing what the code says. If they wanted to upgrade beyond that, submit a new landscaping plan, submit a new sign application, they certainly could. But this would just reinforce what the code now says, which is that they need to come up to the last approval in order to get their occupancy.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you. Along the same lines, Andrew, is the old plan, the lighting in the old plan sufficient for this use?
I haven't calculated it out. What if you take an example of something we've looked at recently? There was the go-kart facility. Went from one level of lighting in the code to a different level of lighting in the code. In this case, it was built at what was a neighborhood shopping center standard and remains a neighborhood shopping center. So it's much more likely that the lighting design from the 90s is still applicable. In the other case, we were changing, we were moving from one level of public use to a different level of public use. This has the same level of anticipated public use.
Okay, thanks. I guess my next question is for Ron. With the storage of the tables, you're thinking that's too small also?
There is, I talked with Mr. Murillo this afternoon, there is not, that I could find in the building and fire prevention codes, any particular thing that talks about how much space you need. However, the issue becomes when they decide to use 100 tables or something to that effect, that many people, what do you do with the tables you have? From a personal note, are they going to stuff them in the corner, and the people that are having the event are looking at tables and chairs stacked in a corner, which isn't very appealing. But again, there's no code provision for that. The other point would then become that they put the tables and chairs, as in the current example, once that room fills, where is the next most convenient place to put them? And it's going to be in the hallway leading to the back exit. Therein lies my issue from a code standpoint, is that they're going to end up blocking exits, whether it be at the back one, the front one, because that's the most convenient place to put the tables and chairs because there isn't sufficient storage space.
Thank you. The note about chairs being stored above the tables, are you looking at like a mezzanine above there that's built?
We won't have that happening.
Okay.
I'm just saying that.
What will be happening?
As part of the critique of the room, that the room is too small, that's an aspect of it. I've worked in banquet halls as a teenager that had exactly that. And you would have to lift a stack of about half a dozen chairs. That's what you had to do.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to do that. We can make it easy on everybody, so you don't have to lift anything. So we're committing to increasing the size of that room sufficiently, to house all the tables and chairs except for those that would serve 100 guests.
So you don't know at this point how big that room is going to be?
I think it's probably going to grow by about 50%, be my guess.
Okay. I think everything else has been answered as far as my questions. I am also concerned about the landscaping outside. You know, if it had been kept up over the years, maybe this site wouldn't have been empty that long, but that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Commissioner Steinle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I guess the petitioner's currently proposing storage for 56 tables. According to the site plan that is in the picture in front of us, I only counted 64 on the main floor and then an additional 8 for the front area. So there really aren't that many tables to begin with. There's a lot more chairs. There's over 500 chairs that I think will probably take up more room than the tables will. But again, that's a problem that you're going to have to figure out where to store them. And, you know, I'm really not that concerned. You know, I guess it bothers me a little bit that you're going to have this gigantic space, and if the minimum size party that you're going to have, let's say, is you said 100 people, you know, that's 12 tables. Are you going to have any kind of partitions in there to make the space
we
feel
certainly
smaller?
want partitions. We need more time to work it out with fire prevention. You know, the issue is you can't put a curtain around a space and now no one can see an exit sign, okay? You know, that's kind of pretty basic. If you put up folding, partitions that are just, you know, come up to here, accordion pattern, you can do that. There's the same issues with visibility to exit signs. You could, my client does not have the budget to buy, you know, folding partitions with doors in it. That's some other project, not this one. So, you know, that's the ultimate way to do it, but it's not in the budget.
Yeah,
So.
It just seems to me like, you know, I think the intent is a good one. I'd like to see a banquet hall there. I think, you know, it's something that potentially will attract people. But, you know, if you're going to have this big area with just 12 tables in it, man, I just don't think that's going to be...
I think we all want the exact same thing. I mean, believe me, we're highly motivated to do this. We just haven't gotten to exploring all the different ways there are. I mean, they do it in convention centers all the time, you know. But as I said, the main issue is among others, is what happens to the sprinkler system. Do we put up a room and then do we still have proper coverage? Can you see 2 exit signs from wherever you are? You know, so that's absolutely agree that it needs to happen.
And you know, that's my only comment on the interior. I think, you know, you'll deal with the tables and chairs somehow. But I do have a problem with the outside lighting, and I have been there at night, and it is very dim outside. And if you're going to have 500 people there to I'll just say the wee hours of the morning, or you know, very late at night as weddings typically do, I think you're going to need a lot more lighting. And Andrew, the shopping center lighting standards that were designed for that center as a predominantly during the day kind of use with, you know, nighttime hours that might go to the early evening is very different than having a major facility with 500 people going to the very late nighttime hours. And I'd really like to take a look at the lighting before approving the plan. I don't want the petitioner to go a long way towards spending a lot of money for, to get ready for occupancy, and then all of a sudden find out that he needs to spend a lot more money to put additional lighting or to change the lighting. I'd like to get that upfront finalized now so that he knows what he's getting into. And as far as landscaping, I agree, a lot needs to be done with the landscaping. However, I do understand the petitioner's predicament. He's got to spend a lot of money on upgrading his facility. And yeah, landscaping would be nice, but you got to have the facility there first. So, I would be willing to see some kind of, and let me just say it in my words, an evolutionary plan for landscaping whereby maybe the first year he does a phase one kind of landscaping upgrade, the next year he does another phase of landscaping upgrade, so he isn't burdened with having to do all the landscaping all at one time. He can progress into it over time. And I guess the same would hold true. He's probably going to do something with the sign on the outside. Does he have to upgrade it, to the nth extent right now? Could we give him a year to do it so that he can rent out his facility and get some additional income to pay for some of the changes that we'd like to see? I think if we could work out some kind of plan or schedule like that, I'd be much more agreeable, but I would like to see all that now, the landscaping plan, the landscaping phases, what he's going to do to the parking lot to bring it up to standards, and how the lighting is going to have to change to accommodate the later hours of operation. Get that all done before we approve the plan, so we can then have a phased approach to implementing it over time. Any comments by the...
Yeah, I'm just a little confused. I thought this was going to be tied to occupancy. And I understand you're talking about limiting the owner's risk, right? If they find out in 4 months that he's got to find money that doesn't exist and he's in trouble. On the other hand, they're losing money by not being able to move forward with this project. And if I would just request the board that we leave these issues as part of occupancy. Certainly we have to satisfy them in order to operate. But in an effort to get the project moving, to do the kinds of...
So when will you find out what changes need to be made to your exterior lighting?
We're going to start that process the minute we get the special use approval. Until we know whether this project will be allowed, that's what we're hoping, from the owner's standpoint. But, if...
to me it seems a little strange to approve half of a project and not approve the complete project as one complete plan. So I would like to see the lighting plan, the landscaping plan, because I haven't seen the landscaping plan. If it was done in 1990 or so, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it looks like. I'd like to see it before I approve it, together with the parking, etc. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
May I just ask a quick question, Andrew? And I apologize, I don't know this. Is the foot candle level standard the same for a parking lot versus a banquet hall facility? That, I think, is a critical
There are some different
question.
there are some different levels in the code. It does it starts with a residential facility and works its way up toward extremely high-use entertainment.
Okay.
So the banquet facility falls somewhere in the middle of that. We can get you the foot candle standard. You've got,
Sure.
as it is, I believe, 30-foot four-headed poles that if you replace the fixtures on those, you should easily be able to achieve the foot candle level. The other way to do it would be to go down to a larger number of poles at a lower height. So there are a couple ways to achieve that minimum level.
Commissioner Stylin, anything more?
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Commissioner Zangara?
Thank you. Basically, everyone's hit on the exterior. The only question I have is really regarding the interior. I mean, we solved the problem with the hallway in the back. My only question is, and I think I should know this, but I don't, is with the kitchen, you have the overhead door. That's the only way in and out. Is there, I apologize, that the code requiring a man door out of a kitchen?
Directly to the exterior?
Directly?
No,
No.
it's a question of travel distance. And because we have exits, 2 exits on the one side and 2 exits in the back, at least in the initial calculations, especially because it's sprinklered.
Right.
You get our travel distances are well under what the code maximums are. So, and there are 2 doorways out of there, of course, but.
Mr. Muriello, could you come to the microphone, please?
I apologize. What I was saying is that we did a travel distance calculation based on the previous plan and found that every way you ran it, we were well under, less than half of the maximum allowable travel distance. So that's how we would typically look at that room, any room.
Right. I was just, I guess my concern or my thinking is having a door out of that kitchen to the hallway to the man door. Reason for my thinking was deliveries, wintertime. Someone delivers, what are they going to do? Knock on the, or unless there's going to be a buzzer, they're going to knock on the overhead door while people are in there. That was my,
Yeah.
that's my only concern is can we get a door somehow into, even if it's off the hallway, into the kitchen. I know you'd have to rearrange stuff, but that was just a comment.
I have to apologize to this board. I have an emergency. I have to leave right now. I really apologize. It's a family thing. Would you guys just finish?
Okay. I'm not an architect. No, your question is about the door to the hall? We
Just
can
a door
look into that.
to a hallway. Then your employees, obviously, employees like to go in the back and smoke, so they're not always walking around into the facility to get outside. Because you're not going to open that door in the middle of winter just so people could go in and out. That's really my only concern.
You make a very good point.
Other than that, everyone else is taking care of, I think, the lighting and landscaping that I would have the same issues with. So that's really all I have.
Thank you.
I can kind of answer that a little bit too. As Mr. Morello indicated, yeah, there isn't really a code requirement that says they have to go directly to the outside because they meet all the other provisions and they can exit through the other space. They probably would actually have 2 options. As it's shown now, they could actually put a man door in where the overhead door is by closing that in if they chose to, although it wouldn't be a code requirement. And as to putting a doorway going into the hallway, depending on the door swing of the door, if it's swinging into the hallway, that would be a restriction in that corridor.
Right, they'd have to do an alcove or something.
Yeah, so they would have some challenges in doing it properly.
Okay.
But I understand your concern, but as it sits, as it's shown, it would be code compliant.
Okay.
Thank you. I too, the interior, to Commissioner Stein's point, the interior is fine as far as the storage of the tables. You've got to make some adjustments there, but it's the interior. And as long as it meets code, fire code, every other code, then I'm okay with that. My concern to Commissioner Styland's point is if we don't have a lighting plan, or if we don't have a landscape plan, before we approve this, we in essence have no teeth with what we approve for this special use. It doesn't come back before us, and we won't see it because occupancy is not part of our purview here, unless that somehow can change. But to Commissioner Styland's point, if lighting is way out of bounds and it's not something that's, that we can afford right now, they can afford right now, then why are we going through with this plan? In addition, for the landscaping and signage, as we said the last time you were here before us, we're more than willing to work with you to phase that in and to phase it in over a number of years because we realize that there is an expense there. But if we don't have a place to start, to say, here's what we're working with, here's our landscape plan, and we're going to move from there. And even if it's the base plan from PC number 3-12, we don't know what that is. We really don't know what that is. And I know staff does a fine job in doing that, but that's our role here, is to approve those plans. And I think as a whole, and based upon what I hear from the Plan Commission, is they would like to see that. And then we can work with you to phase that in, however you want to do that. But I think as a whole, we need to see lighting plans, landscape plans, and so we can approve this special use.
Is there a way to tie it to the signage application? Mr. Jennings?
Well, the signage and the landscaping directly adjacent to the signage, sure. The overall site is a little bit difficult to make the connection. The commission has a couple of options: tabling it to see the plan, recommending that the board packet include the original plan. I mean, you have several options in front of you. The lighting is a code. It can be subject to the confirmation. They would have to have a photometric plan done to confirm that the lighting meets the minimum code standards. So you do have a few different options. If your concern is that the lighting meet the code, you can separate it away from the landscape and make those two different conditions, that the landscape plan be submitted by such deadline. Seems as though the commission did have some consensus last week and this week to phase in landscaping. So you do have some options.
I understand the lighting, and if it's code, then it's code, and yes.
I understand the concept. If it's code, then it's code. But then why, as part of the PC-12 docket, did we have a lighting plan, and now we don't have a lighting plan? If it's code is code now, code was code then, and we didn't need a lighting plan back then.
No,
I would like to see a lighting plan based upon the use that's being proposed today. And whether it's code or not code, we required it in the past. I believe we required for any new buildings today. This is a new major change to the use. I don't know that we need to go into the lighting, what do you call that? Photometric stuff. I mean, I believe that Andrew probably could take a look at the plan, the existing photometrics. If you're not moving the poles, the lighting will probably be the same. I just want to make sure that it can be brought up to existing standards requirements, and if it can't, then I do want to discuss what changes are going to be done to the poles and where they're going to be and how that's going to impact parking, et cetera. I mean, I think a lot of these things go together.
They do. And in addition, I personally am not, and I'm sure the board is not, in favor of sending something to the board, i.e. the landscape plan, and we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it. It's just not something that I personally would want to do, and I would probably poll the commission. I think they would say yes. Right now, I'm of the opinion that and I will poll the board here, that we need to see the lighting plan and the landscape plan. And we're not talking about when it's being, well, your lighting has to be installed before you can probably occupy it. But the landscaping, we can work with you, but we have no plan. And if they have the plan from PC 312 that can be brought back to us, I'm okay with that. And then we can work from there as to what improvements, because our landscape standards have changed since, when was this from, Andrew?
We're going to say sometime in the 90s, 1995.
1995. So almost 20 years. They have changed. So I believe what I'm hearing is that we'd like to see a landscape plan and a lighting plan and your plans for what you're going to do to the parking lot come back before us.
I would like to make a motion to table until we see those.
Second.
Hold on. Let's just make sure we've got everything before we make a motion, okay? Because I don't want to come back. I don't want them to have to come back a third time, a fourth time, or a fifth time, okay? So let's hold off on the motion. So we said a landscape plan, lighting plan. Signage is separate. Signage you're going to have to come before us anyway. So if you want to throw the signage in there, you can. But I would venture a guess to say that you can do that at a separate time. You're going to have to come back anyway. But that could actually be a consent item in the future. So it's not something that you would have to come back for. It would have to come before us for consent. And yes.
And if the petitioner would like to do some kind of phased approach to the landscaping, that, you probably ought to put that in the plan as well, sure, so you don't have to come back yet again.
Yes, that's a good point. Is everybody in agreement with that, what we proposed? Do you understand what we're looking for, sir?
Oh, yes, we do.
Okay. Andrew, I see you're writing furiously.
Have hearings available for this continuation. We do have some items actually already on October 10th and October 17th. You are missing an architect right now, so you're at a slight disadvantage. Do you have, in order to examine the plans that are on file and determine if any updates are needed, do you have any projection of how much time you think you would need to do that?
I need a landscape architect, 21 days.
October 24th is available. I don't believe we have anything projected for that night at this point.
That'll be fine.
24th?
Concept review.
It's a concept review of PUD.
We can do that before.
Sure.
Yep.
The 17th, we just got the ice cream and the 17th would be a possibility as well. I don't think we have any major items on if you'd like to try for the 17th of October.
Whatever the board prefers.
I would suggest attempting for October 17th then with a minimum 8-day submittal in advance of that. We can continue it without discussion at that date if it's not ready by then.
That'll be fine.
You said, though, 21 days. Okay. Are you taking into consideration the 8 days that he just mentioned? So,
Yeah, you're right. I think we should go out further.
right, I think so.
How about 28?
24th, and then go to the first meeting in November if needed.
Right, 24th.
Chairman Rufano?
Yes.
Rather than a motion to table, I think it'd be more appropriate to have a motion to continue
Continue.
to that specific date.
Okay.
If that's all right.
Great, that sounds fine. So your motion to continue to day certain of October 24th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Powers, seconded by Commissioner Dorban. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Powers?
Yes.
Commissioner Dorban?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson is yes. Commissioner Schaaf?
Yes.
Commissioner Steilen?
Yes.
Commissioner Zangara?
Yes.
And Chairman Rufato.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We are going to print this up so you can take it with you.
They're leaving.
Jim, can you take that? Looks like it might be a-
Yeah. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Going to recess for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Yep. And as a reminder, if you want to sign up to ask questions or comment,
I'm lost. I've scribbled this up so bad.
Calling docket number 2013-17, Estes Express Lines, 1075 Chaddock Drive, special use site plan approval for a truck freight terminal. Mr. Secretary.
Docket number 2013-17, Angela Maidment, Vice President of Estes Express Lines, lessee, is seeking special use site plan approval as required under Chapter 19-07 Industrial Districts, Chapter 19-10 Use Regulations, and Chapter 19-12 Site Plan Approval Requirements and associated sections to establish a truck freight terminal at 1075 Chaddock Drive, Wheeling, Illinois. Standards for special use. A zoning special use as defined in Title 19 of the Village of Wheeling zoning is a use of a parcel of land that requires review and consideration before approval due to circumstances or effects on the surrounding properties that may adversely affect them. In order to be considered for a special use, the petitioner is required to demonstrate through testimony to the Plan Commission at the public hearing why their request meets the conditions of the Village Code, including but not limited to how the proposed use will not damage the enjoyment or use of the surrounding properties. Prior to the public hearing, the petitioner provides written statements meant to show that their request for a special use meets the standards established in Title 19. The Commission chairperson will typically direct that these statements be entered into the record without a full reading of them at the hearing. Based upon the testimony and supporting materials submitted, the Plan Commission will make findings in support of or against the petitioner's testimony and report those findings to the Village Board. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings.
Just one procedural note, two procedural notes really, before we hand it over to the petitioner on this. This particular item was required to go through the special use public hearing process due to a period of vacancy. The property has been out of operation for approximately 3 years. The code requires a special use hearing to take place in order to reestablish the business, although it is substantially similar to what was previously located on this property. Then for those in our audience, if you haven't been to a public hearing like this, the way the procedure works is the petitioner will be given an opportunity to go through their proposal. At that point, we'll ask if anyone has questions based on what they have presented. Then you'll have an opportunity after that to make comments. So when we open it to the public, the first round will be for questions specifically. And like I said, you will have an opportunity to make comments following that. So at this point, it goes to the petitioner to present their proposal.
Good evening, and thank you so much
Excuse me, if you could just wait 1 second. A couple of procedural things. One, are you going to be the only petitioner speaking tonight on this?
I am.
Okay, so if you could raise your right hand. Do you swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
I do.
Great. And if you could give your name and address to the...
So. Thank
you did so already? Great, thank you. Now you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the time that the Plan Commission has given us this evening to outline the basics of the special use permit request that we have before you. I'm the Vice President of Corporate Real Estate for Estes Express Lines. This site came to our attention as being advertised for lease. As it was, we made an offer to do so with the owner, ABF Freight. And during our due diligence of that lease, we found and determined that a special use permit would be needed due to the length of the term of the vacancy. So I do want to clarify that we are not the owners of this site. We are making an attempt to bring jobs and vitality back to this site and in this community. And in so doing, we are the exact same type user as ABF. We're a less than truckload transportation company, as well as our neighbors across the street, as in Yellow, as in YRC Today, and USF Holland. So our petition is to reopen the site, in our estimation, repair the site, and make it usable. So there will be no enlargements, changes, modifications, other than repair and maintenance that has been derelict during its lack of occupancy. So with that in mind, basically, the truck terminal would act as it has been in the past. It would be a 24/7 operation. Most transportation companies are, due to the fact that most of the retailers today do require certain type of night deliveries. However, the bulk of the operations, we're talking about 27 trucks in and 27 trucks out in a daytime period. And most of those would happen in that 6 to 10 a.m. window and the 4 to 7 p.m. window. However, as you have seen yourselves, due to snow in this area, traffic issues, et cetera, we can't always say that that will always happen in that window, but that is the mainstay of the traffic. Our facility would operate with about 42 new jobs to the community. We would probably bring in a manager from our own system to open it up, but other than that, we would be, our guys have already been asking, when can we, put info in the paper to look for jobs? And I'm like, well, there are a few issues in the community we want to make sure are resolved and make sure that we can meet the standards that you're going to require and that, we're going to be a good neighborhood community member. So, excuse me. We petitioned, we submitted the information. The general layout will not change what you have seen in your package. The only things that would happen, for example, the gate is broken, a lot of the fencing is broken. That would be repaired. Thankfully, the owner has removed some of the weeds, et cetera. We would do, of course, more than that to bring it back into good repair. We would not plan to repave at this time. We're looking at leasing for a period of 2 to 3 years. Repaving a site and that type of expense really doesn't fit into a capital project. However, we see some areas that need to be patched that would be taken care of to operate at the facility. We've noticed some lighting issues where lights are burned out. We've noticed some concerns from Mr. Jennings in relation to making sure that the light does shine on this property and not on other properties. And of course, when they're repaired, we can make sure that that happens. That's not a problem. I'd also like to make sure that I point out, it appears that there were complaints in the past about the alarm on the fuel pump or fuel island. The fueling station is exempt from our lease. We will not be using it. 95% of the time, we would not use fuel at a lease site due to liability. It's not good for the owner. It's not good for the tenant. We like to keep that line of separation complete. So we would not be utilizing that. So any recommendation to turn the alarm off, anything like that would not be a problem because we wouldn't be using it. I think that the main thing that I can stress here is that we're looking to operate in the same fashion as the property has been used since around 1980. That's why we stand before you today. If you have specific questions, concerns, things that we can go through and look at, we'd be happy to try to address those. But I think that the information at this point speaks for itself. I see some of Andrew's recommendations, and I think those are things that we would want to discuss and review as we go further.
Thank you. At this point, we are going to ask anyone in the audience if they have any questions about what was just presented. This is questions specific to what was just presented. Please come up. It's questions.
And as I said before, we will go down the list of signed-up speakers for comments. This would be questions. We will get to you guys on comments. You could speak again under comment if you.
That was my question. Perfect.
If you could you pull the microphone down?
And if you could raise your right hand
Yes, sir.
do you swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
I do.
And if you can give your name to the recording.
It's on the sheet. Do you want it as well?
Yes.
Mary Ann Lagori, lifelong resident of Wheeling. Do you want my address in Wheeling now? 105 Deborah Lane. 600, no, I'm just kidding. My specific question to what she just mentioned now is, you say that you have not advertised for employees. There's a sign on the gate. We had called, and I look daily in the Herald and in Craigslist for Wheelings available or jobs available in Wheeling. Didn't see anything in there, and when I had called, they told me most positions were filled.
May I address?
Sure, that's cross-examination.
That sign is not for Estes Express Lines, that has been for ABF Freight, the owner of the property.
The yellow sign, it's an orange sign, it says Estes is hiring. They actually said you're looking to start in October. Can you hear me
Can you
okay?
tell me, I mean, I'd be happy to know where this sign is, because
Have you been by the property?
I have been. Of course,
Okay,
today
it's on the
gates-
outside. No.
The gates were open, it's on the building.
It's on the outside of the fence that Estes is
Don't
hiring.
talk over one another.
Oh, I'm
Please,
sorry.
please
I'm
let her
sorry.
finish and you do the same,
Okay.
so we can hear everybody.
We went by there today, and the fence was open, we walked around, we were looking at what they had been doing on clearing some of the brush, et cetera. I did not go in the building today, so whoever placed that sign, I'm incredibly surprised myself. And I am, because in our system, we haven't posted anything to being able to open, because we don't have a signed lease or
Do you
anything of
want
that
to
nature.
have a picture? Do you want me
That would
to
be-
make it
yeah.
clear?
Is the yellow sign what is there?
It's there.
Oh, there you go. That sign right there.
Thank
It's
you.
been up for a couple weeks.
Has it really?
And my mother-in-law is actually the one who called. She drove by. She's the one who actually called. She was looking for a secretarial position. And I don't know if it was her age on the phone. No, I'm sorry. Most positions are filled was the exact quote. So I was wondering, and if these were Wheeling citizens, the Village of Wheeling. I called for a job. They said no.
Well, what I would like to say is that I'm unaware of that being posted out there. There was no permission from the corporate office for any local people to put that out there. And they wouldn't be able to fill jobs that haven't been opened yet. So
Is that not your sign, though? Is that not your label, Estes? I mean, there was a foreign
That's not
person
it.
who came to that
that's
sign
what I
and...
need to find out.
Excuse me,
the statistical
Ms.
part.
Maidman, can you check the microphone and see if
It's
it's,
not-
I don't think we're hearing you. We might need to swap out here.
How about that? There we go.
That's better. And if you could, it's difficult to
Okay, I'll face
turn
this
these into
way.
the minutes. Our poor
Okay.
recording secretary is going to have a tough time with this. So if you could do one question at a time, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Thank you.
I apologize.
I will be happy to explore what is going on with that sign, but I can tell you from a corporate standpoint, as in Richmond, Virginia, where we're based, there was nothing going out about that. What I need to check is with our district people. So the key is that I guess by them addressing that most of the jobs are filled, as in the Chicagoland area, that might be true, because we haven't posted any job openings for this site yet. So by not posting, and I mean as in internally, et cetera, so I'm not sure what has happened with this, but I will make sure, and if you want to leave me your information, I will make sure I get you an answer on what's going on with that, because I honestly don't know.
Just a procedural change here, because we're having a lot of dialogue. If you could ask your questions, and then we'll have the petitioner answer every one of them.
I'll jot them down. And
Right, we'll jot them down.
Okay. Yeah, I just called for a job. They said, sorry, most positions were filled, so.
Okay.
And just one more one. So reopen, repair, reuse, and maintenance. Are you speaking as well as repairing, it was your recommendation, and then, and I know we'll get to that, repairing the east side fence? I do have pictures of that. Have you seen the fence?
I have, and we have...
If you could just
Oh,
hold
I'm
up,
sorry.
let them ask all the questions. Repairing the east side of the, okay?
My question to that is, the fence itself is beyond repair. I do have photos, the buckling of the fence, there's barbed wire, the side of the children. So the fence itself is beyond repair. It would have to be renewed.
Thank you.
I have pictures, and I don't know if you want to discuss that.
That's fine. We will, I'm sure we will, when all the questions are done, she will answer the question, and then we also will have questions about it also.
Okay.
So,
Well, I just didn't see any pictures of that
Well, we
side of
haven't-
it.
right,
In any of
exactly.
the presentation, we weren't mentioned, so.
Okay.
Okay, that's it for now. Thank you.
are there any other questions? Yes, in the yellow hat. No, that's all right. It was distinguished from somebody else that was raising their hand at the same time. You swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
Yes, I do.
And if you can give your name to the recording secretary.
It's Melbourne Randall Bartholomew. The third. 1044 Carroll, Wheeling. My concerns, too, is the fence.
Is it a question? You have a question about something?
The chain link. I would rather see a privacy fence put up so we don't have to see the trucks.
So your question is?
Maybe like a 15, 20-foot barrier fence like they put on the
I'm just trying to
highways.
get to your question, sir. What is you have a question about the condition of the fence? You have a question?
And the type of the fence they would.
Okay, so you have a question about the type of the fence?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right.
Do you have any additional questions?
Yeah, I do. Also, the gas tanks in the back. Actually, let me just switch over to first. Me and 6 other families behind me have been here for 25-plus years. My question is this trucking company even by code? Because when I moved in, I was told it wasn't by code. The trucking company isn't supposed to be up against a residential area.
Okay.
So is the code, as you were saying earlier before, the last codes have changed, so my concerns is the code even right today?
Okay.
Second is the trucks themselves being parked in the back, running with diesel fuel. If the trucks could be put in the front and not in the back.
Okay.
And maybe workers can park in the back and trucks can come in the front part by the street. My other concern is, yeah, the place, the landscaping is terrible. I mean, the asphalt, it's not asphalt, you got grass growing through the whole parking lot.
Okay.
Lighting is an issue. The lights now shine into our neighborhood. I feel like a glowworm every night I go to sleep. Well, not in the past 3 years, and it's actually felt like 12 years since.
So your question is what's going to happen with the lighting?
Yeah.
We're looking for specific
Lighting.
questions. Okay.
Lighting.
Okay.
My other question is if the gas pumps can be removed. I don't know if this is the fire chief here, but we've had truck fires up against that fence, which houses are 35 feet away from, not even. We've also had, my other question is storage. Are they going to be storing trucks in the back that we have to have visual view of? And also the time. You say, I understand whether it's a trucking company, it's, you guys are open late and stuff, and it's something that we've had to deal with in the past. Is, radios, music, up to all night of hours. If shipping can be done from the front and not the back. And would there be a time set for these trucks not to do something at a certain hour, whether it was loading past a residential time? You can't use a blower after 5:30 in most villages.
Okay, we've jotted down a handful of questions. What I'd like to do is have the petitioner, if your microphone is working, you can stay there, otherwise come to the podium. Sorry, go ahead.
One more question. The east side of the property, the parking lot backs up to 2 feet from our street. If they were meant to be in, I would like landscaping of large trees for blockage, so we don't have to look at the building or trucks or lighting or even smell diesel fuel.
Good luck on
they could take that parking lot another 12 feet and do landscaping on the east side of the parking lot.
Okay, so what I'd like to go through now is, we've had, between your questions and the other questions, I'd like to just go through the list. Is there a plan, you had indicated earlier there was not a plan to replace a significant amount of fence. It was repair as needed, replace the gate, I believe is what you had said. Could you respond to the question regarding what is planned for the fence?
Thus far, there was about 250 feet that needed to be mainly replaced, a little bit of repair work, and this is based on an assessment that came back to me from a repair and maintenance company. And then the gate was at the point of either significant parts of a repair or replacement of the entire gate.
I'm sorry, the
Yes.
question, I did not rephrase that correctly, I apologize. The question specifically related to the eastern segment of the fence was the report that you had related to a particular area of the property?
Our report had sections from different portions of the property. It was not exclusive to one area. For example, if the top line was broken, if it was bent over, those are the kind of things that typically with a chain link fence we would repair. Once again, since we're not the owners, we wouldn't typically go and replace an entire fence, but that was our general scope in order to operate.
Okay, that was actually, I think we had that question covered, two of the questions. The next question was, I believe, for the village. Mr. Ferrolo, is that appropriate to answer? It was our next question, if it's not to the petitioner, relating to the code.
Sure, absolutely.
What you're seeing tonight is what the code requires for this business. There are certainly other building code, life safety code issues that go into the construction side of things. But from a zoning standpoint, this is the process by which someone would request a special use permit. The zoning district, I-3, does allow this particular type of land use, but this is the way that the business would go about making that request.
For that property?
That's correct.
New properties, is that what Wheeling's doing with new properties that happen up today?
It's based on the zoning district. In the I-3 zoning district, this special use petition that you're seeing tonight, this is the way that somebody would have to go about requesting that. There's a public hearing, notice is required to the properties within 250 feet, which I assume is the reason many people heard about it.
Only half of the neighborhood heard because they're not, the front part are farther away, so the whole neighborhood didn't get one. Otherwise, we'd have a bigger turnout here tonight.
The next question, is it possible operationally for the trucks to be mostly operating on the Chaddock side, especially in the evening, due to idling?
Well, I think the key report on that, this is a cross-dock truck terminal, and that's what less than truckload companies use. So both sides are needed to be able to load and unload freight. So that is not really in the structure of a normal setup for a facility.
Is there a plan for additional landscaping?
Based on the information we received from the village, we are going to review what kind of additional landscaping we can do on Chaddock.
Is it possible to redirect lights to the west?
Absolutely. Now that we know that that is an issue, this kind of forum allows us to find out about some of those issues. And since we are going to be doing repair work on that, we will make sure that the lights shine on our property, which is what they're intended for in the first place. They may have shifted over the years, but that can easily be taken care of.
The next question, do you have a representative of the property relating to the gas pumps? Is that something you're able to answer?
I can clarify from a user some of the information on that. Once again, we would not be using them, so it would not be utilized. I can't speak for ABF as to whether or not they would be willing to remove them. For example, if they want to reopen the property in 3 or 4 years, they would probably want to have fuel. Now, maybe the decision needs to be on a different placement of fuel, but I can't make that call. I don't know of any code issue relevant, because I didn't come up in any of my research that it was a problem in terms of state compliance or federal compliance. But I can say that during our tenure, they would not be used. So for us, it wouldn't be an issue in terms of there would be no use, there would be no fuel in the tank.
Looks like it. Excuse me, let her just complete, and we'll give you an opportunity. That's all right?
The issue of trucks to be stored in the rear, I believe you answered that. Trucks are to be stored in the rear based on your previous answer.
I think there are 2 points to that, and I want to make sure that we're speaking the same language, because sometimes in trucking, we call something maybe a little different. Are you referring to the actual tractor, or are you referring to the trailer, or both?
Both.
Okay. So it would be necessary to park trailers along that fence line. It's the only way the layout of the site works in terms of the usage and the number of trailers needed to operate the site. As far as tractors, I believe that based on previous sketches that I've seen, as well as tractor plug-ins that are used in this type of climate in the winter, that is actually along the, and pardon my clarity, whether it's I believe it's the north side, closer to the employee parking lot.
Okay. Well, our question was, is just, we don't want to see the semi-trucks in our front yard. So that's where the privacy fence comes in instead of a chain link fence. I don't know if that's something that we talked to Wheeling about for a property that's been run down and has not been taken care of in 3 years. Or do we go straight to ABF and ask them?
It is on the record here at this point. I can, as the night progresses, I can sort of explain what happens procedurally from this hearing, what the Plan Commission does, but just in short, the Plan Commission takes in all the public comment, depending on how things progress. Sometimes the petitioner needs an additional few weeks to respond to everything and come back. So typically that's what would happen. The board, the village board of trustees, the elected officials wouldn't see an application like this until the Plan Commission finalizes their recommendation. And their recommendation can include items like that, modifications to a plan.
Okay.
The next question we had related to hours of operation being split between the east and west side of the property. Is it possible to decrease the time of operation, especially in the rear?
No, it is not. Once again, that goes back to the cross-dock capabilities of that type of facility, that freight needs to come in one door and be transferred to the other side. So unfortunately, not using one side of the property would make it not usable.
We as a neighborhood are just trying to get everything we can out of not wanting to have another trucking company behind us again. We have 3 sick children in our neighborhood, one with brain cancer, and 3 other things. So it's a concern for us.
Okay, you will have time for comments. Are there any other questions that you have? We have other...
No, I think that's about it.
Okay, great. Is there anyone else that wants to ask questions? Please come forward. And please remember, it's questions. You will have ample enough time to make comments.
Mr. Jennings, may I ask a quick question?
Sure.
Were the questions presented earlier also addressed in your review there?
I believe you answered them as
Okay.
we were going through, but we'll make sure because I have them also. Okay.
My name is Thomas Gloger. I live at 104 Lynn Lane, Wheeling.
Could you please raise your right hand? Do you swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
Yes.
Okay. And your questions are?
First, I have something to add to the employment question. I have a copy here of Estes Express Lines website where they are soliciting resumes for Wheeling, 1075 Chaddock Drive, Wheeling, Illinois. So you,
Go ahead.
May I ask real quick, do you have a date that that's noted?
this was about a week ago.
Okay. And if he wouldn't mind presenting a copy, I would like to get an answer for everyone on that. Since I'm not in HR, I'm in real estate,
Right.
there's a difference, but I will get an answer, absolutely.
Would you like this copy?
Yes, sir.
All right. So Estes is going to be the leasing of the property. So if there was a problem, such as we've had problems with other companies in the past with litter and upkeep, would we go to Estes or would we go to ABF?
Are we tabling, or may I answer directly?
What I'd like to do is, as we did with the last one, is just kind of go through the list and then read them back off.
All right. I was wondering too about the underground storage tank. Currently, it has been red tagged by the State Fire Marshal's Division of Petroleum and Chemical Safety. Is that going to, since Estes is not going to be using the tank for the first 3 years, does that mean that that tank will remain in its current condition? The next question is, will this facility be handling hazardous materials? Which I realize is kind of a broad description. And the next question, I might be able to get an answer right away. Are there hydrants in the area of the depot? Fire hydrants, that is. Those are my questions.
Andrew, you want to read them back?
Sure. First question, where would complaints be addressed if the site were to resume operation with Estes as the tenant?
If we were to get an SUP in order to occupy and operate the site, if there's an issue with trash, noise, anything of that nature would need to be addressed with Estes Express Lines. And I would hope that we would build a rapport with the local manager and any residents so that any issues that were to occur could be addressed quickly and efficiently, as we like to be good neighbors.
The next question related to the underground storage tanks. They've been reportedly stickered by the state. Is there an intent to remove the underground storage tank?
To the best of my knowledge, I'm unaware of any current movement to remove those tanks. And this is speaking only from my experience, not specifically at this site. If a site is vacant with underground storage tanks, usually you file to have them made inactive. And what happens is there's usually a process by which fuel is removed, other standards are met, and it can remain inactive for a certain length of time. What ABF has or has not done with the fuel tanks, I can candidly say I'm not fully aware because they've been excluded from our lease, so it wasn't part of our due diligence.
The next question related to hazardous freight, I believe, hazardous materials at the facility.
As you said, hazardous materials is a really broad form statement. As far as being a hazmat carrier, which there are specific carriers that are licensed to do that, that is not our business. However, small quantities of things like paint, things of that nature which can fall into that category depending on the quantity would fall into that. And of course, all regulations, permits, et cetera, for handling anything of that nature would be followed.
And this may be a question for the fire inspector. Are there hydrants in the vicinity?
There are hydrants along Chaddock Drive. I do not recall if there are hydrants on the site proper. I believe there is one basically if you look kind of straight through where the yellow sign is, but it is a fully sprinklered building. But then again, there are hydrants in the area, and the fire apparatus that the village uses are set up for delivery of large flows of water over land through 5-inch large diameter hose, which would be used.
According to the state fire marshal, the current status of that tank as of a week ago was out of service.
Is there anyone else that wishes to ask any questions?
With hazardous materials, and it is broad, and you use something as basic and plain as paint, there's an array of hazardous materials that when they react, they combust, they explode. There are no fire hydrants by the homes, and I have pictures if you'd like to see how close this east side fence, this property touches children's backyards. There's no fire hydrants at all accessible in our neighborhood. So if and when an explosion, which is possible with movement, whatever the chemicals are, no matter what procedures you go through, how is the fire going to be put out Mr. Groger's home when the truck explodes 10 feet away from it?
May I address?
Is that your only question again?
For now, yes.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you candidly, because
Okay,
the mainstay
can
of
we
our...
have the fire
Well,
chief
let
answer
me
then?
just finish
Oh.
really quickly as
Okay.
to a typical freight terminal, which you have many all around you. There's deliveries, all of that is going on. Typically, those trailers that you're referring to along the fence line are empty. The freight is on the dock, or it's on a trailer that's going out of there. That's the difference between a truckload carrier, which would store all kinds of freight and leave it there, and a less than truckload. So just for clarification, most anything along that fence line would be empty.
Okay, so there's not a percentage of a chance
Okay,
that
No,
that would
I'm just
happen? Oh,
explaining the
okay.
basic
We're just-
dynamics,
we're-
and then I'll...
I gotcha.
Right, we're asking
Okay.
questions.
Okay.
It's not, Mr. Antor, do you have a comment?
Yeah, the question is, how would we fight a fire in the non-hydrated area? It's irrelevant as to whether it's a normal house fire in that neighborhood or if it's something that's served from this particular site. There are hydrants along Wolf Road. As I said earlier, the fire apparatus carry 5-inch large diameter supply hose. Basically, we lay our own main on top of the ground with that. And then we also have the ability to access water tankers from neighboring communities to set up what they call rural or tanker-type operations to have continual water flow. It's not unusual in a non-hydrated area to be able to sustain a flow of a couple thousand gallons of water a minute continually once you're set up. So it's not exactly something that is not or it's something that is planned for.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, a question. The hydrants are on Wolf Road across the street at the airport side, directly to our homes. There's a couple, maybe closer to Hintz, maybe closer to Palatine. They completely miss our area. The closest fire hydrants are across the street, and running hoses across the street and off of Wolf Road, I don't understand how that would work out.
We would close the road, lay the water lines down in the street,
Okay.
and supply the water.
Okay. I'm sorry, I just saw an immediate threat right next to their house. Okay, thank
Great.
you.
Are there any other questions? Okay.
Commissioner Raffato, if I may.
Yes.
Also, the fire apparatus all carry a supply of water on the apparatus for initial fire ground operations also.
Do you raise your right hand?
Bob Liguori.
You swear the testimony you can give tonight to be the truth?
I live the same place as the other. When you guys say you're gonna fix the fence, did you guys talk to Wheeling to let them know it's just a chain link fence between about 12 feet from several of these people's houses? That's one. And the next one is those hazardous materials. If they're coming in one out and out the other, how could it be, they wouldn't be near the fence? That thing's only, 50 feet, 60 feet from the fence? The other one is, you said it's like the other trucking companies across whatever they are called, Yellow, and I don't know the names of them, but those are several football fields away. Yours is literally right across the street. I'm not trying to yell at you, but you don't own the place, I know that. But to put a trucking company there, in my opinion, is hazardous. To have any kind of chemicals there and run fire hose, who knows how far that is. That's not realistic either. Maybe it could be done. I'm sure it could be done. You could probably run it from Dundee, but not in any real timing. That's my question.
Okay, thank you. So
the first one, did you make the village aware of plans related to the fence along the east side?
Yes, in our submission, we gave a copy of the existing site plan, which shows that there are chain link fences at the site, and in our presentation, we said that we'd be repairing, not replacing with any other type of fencing, so yes, we did.
My note on the next one, how can you ensure separation between materials and the fence? Materials that are stored within the trucks and the fence?
For clarity, the distance between the edge of a dock and in that instance, the fence line, it would be about 150 to 75 feet between the edge of dock and the fence. We need that maneuverability to park a tractor trailer and still have something at the dock. The key is that we are not a hazardous chemical transporter. That is not what we do. I'm not saying that there aren't a few things, just like even in your own home, that you might have, like paint and products like that. That is not traditionally what we do. We don't take chemicals from dry cleaning. I mean, those can be very, combustible. That is not what we do. So I just want to make sure that we're kind of focusing on the fact that we're a freight company. A few things that could become that are always in any kind of transportation, but that is not the mainstay of our business. So, and once again, that is not stored in trailers along the fence.
And the...
My question was actually meant, when you unload or load any materials, they're coming in or coming out one side, pointing towards us out. So even if they are not stored along the fence, they are still coming near it. For, I don't know how long your trucks are, but in that little bit of space, I'm assuming it's a guesstimation of how long that is.
It's pretty standard. We have kind of a layout of what it takes to maneuver 53-footers into a dock, so that is kind of, right. And it's on the survey. So, but as far as they come in and those tractors, trailers swing into the dock, unload the freight, and it gets transferred over to another trailer, and sometime, usually within a 12-hour span, is then transported out again. I can't tell you if they unload from, the east side, the west side, but I'm just saying that's how our system works. The freight goes in and out, and if it doesn't, we're not doing our job.
are there any other questions for the petitioner? No. Yes. The lady in the back here. Hi. Do you swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
I do.
And if you can give your name.
Patricia Beal, B-I-E-L. It's 102 Glen Lane. And just for my understanding.
If you could talk into the microphone. So everybody
I don't know
can
a lot
hear.
about trucking companies, but what you stated, you said you only have 27 trucks or trailers that you're open 24/7. So is that correct? There's only 27 trucks operating in and out of there at one? You said they'll do most of their business from 5 to 10 and then from 7 to 10, or did I I don't know if I misunderstood that.
May I?
Yeah, if you could just go ahead and address that one. I think she has a follow-up on that.
Basically, due to the size, the number of doors, et cetera, at the facility, it would be 20 what we consider citywide drivers that would do local pickup and delivery, and 7 long haul. So that's where the 27 comes from. Now, the key is what they asked us for was the time frame that they would usually be coming in. So for example, 6 to 10 in the morning, that would be when my city drivers will be leaving. They've already been loaded overnight and they're ready to leave. That's actually when our long haul drivers would be coming in from night driving. They would be going out in the afternoon about the same time those 20 citywide drivers would be coming in. Now, you're going to have a few things going on the dock. So the dock workers are doing, preparing freight, doing that kind of thing. But that's the main window for the traffic.
Okay. That was my only question.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay, now we have a time for comments.
Have signed up for comment Mr. Thomas Gloger.
Can I give him a time?
I'm going to jot some notes for comments if that's okay.
Sir, you will have 5 minutes.
So it sounds like for at least the next 3 years, there's no plans to replace the fence. I was curious as to where that fence is with relationship to the east edge of the property. Is there any information here that?
You can go, I'll look through.
We'll look through it, but if you continue to make your comments.
Okay. I found it interesting with the earlier items on the agenda that there's a smoking area for restaurants, but apparently for truck depots that are upwind of a residential area. We've put up in the past with exhausts and spilled fuel, which I understand will not be an issue. Noise 24/7, impact hammers, changing tires, tractors hooking up to trailers, driving the length of the facility in low gear, trucks sitting out idling, shouting, noises of things being loaded. It's been nice. And that basically is the essence of the comment. The fence, I was told some 35 years ago that it was put up without any notice being served to the residents, which were not at that time part of Wheeling. And I was told that the fence was 8 feet closer to the center of Dean Avenue than zoning laws permitted. Dean Avenue runs approximately 4 feet east of that fence, one edge, and the other edge is about 15 feet over. It's a very narrow street. 2 cars can pass, but that's about it. I was hoping that some of those items would be addressed. Now, I understand I have heard through the grapevine that there is talk of repaving Dean. I don't know if they will be increasing the width of the pavement. Right now, the width of the pavement's kind of hard to determine because it sort of feathers off into gravel. That is my comments at this time.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next comments would be from Randy Bartholomew. Did you have additional comments that you'd like to make? Please come forward.
I don't know if it's a comment. It's garbage. With the previous fence that we have there now, us as a family in that neighborhood, every Sunday would come out and get 10, 20 garbage bags of garbage that goes through the fence, underneath the fence. So my comment is, would they be fixing that problem also?
Thank you.
Next, we have Mary Ann Liguri.
Can I lower this?
Sure. Doesn't stay down, though.
Okay. There are 20 homes in Wolf Run Estates, 20 homes in Wolf Run Estates. Each home has 5, maybe 3 to 5 to 7 people in it. Well, you can do the math on that one. We come here, we're standing as one. We're saying no, absolutely not. Will this be accepted? At all. We stand as one, no. We play outside year-round, 24/7. At any point, we will be outside. In our yards, we have barbecues, we have parties, we're outside. I'm going to just stick to task, excuse me. If we don't have kids in common, we have dogs. We are all very, very good friends. We drink, we text, we exercise. Sometimes we do that all at the same time. The children play together, eat, laugh, all at the same time. And that goes on till hours after the sun goes down. We're tight. We're standing as one on this. No, absolutely not. Do we want a trucking company coming into our backyard? I'm going to go over a few things. I had brought some concerns to Mr. Jennings earlier, so I'm going to stay on task, excuse me. I'm very emotional about this. Most of us have been here for decades. We support Wheeling businesses. We support the community itself in so many ways. Personally, did Girl Scouts for 4 years, Boy Scouts for 3 years, athletic board, ran tournaments for 13 conference schools, Alador Villa, volunteered with the homeless PADS program. Perhaps you know about that with the churches. We house the homeless and feed them. This is just me, one person. 20 homes in Wheeling. This is me, one person as a resident, lifelong resident. I remember moving here in 1972, lifelong resident. Me, person, people, Wheeling, trucking company, 20 feet from my children. Our roots are deep here, very deep. Whether or not it comes from, most of us are business owners, or small business owners. The thousands of connections we have between Wheeling and Buffalo Grove and all of our surrounding areas, the connections we have are deep and tight, and I'm telling you this for a reason. I want to just start off, the letter that was submitted to you initially, August 20th of 2013, this was a letter from Ms. Maidment, is that okay. This was a letter, and I just, when I learned of this, I'm confused and emotional. I'm trying to stay focused with this. So Mr. Jennings had suggested stick on task. We can talk about the things that are in here and pick that apart for comments. So Estes, privately owned, from Richmond, Virginia. There were less than a truckload. I don't want to read everything because we just went over that. I didn't know that was how we were going to do this. But I want to comment on this. You are not based here. You are not from Illinois. You are not even from the Chicagoland area. You have no ties. You do not own this property, so you will not care for this property in terms of cleaning the garbage and whatever, as picking up the cigarette butts. You do not own, you do not live here. You have no ties. In our eyes, it looks like you're wanting to rent a sort of hub, like a dumping ground, just come in and out and in and out, and trucks all the time, half truckloads, burning gas through our town, in and out, in and out, in and out. And it feels very transient to me, especially your plans are only for 2 or 3 years. very transient, and it's icky, dirty. Having trucks run the half loads as well as full loads for 24 hours a day. You're asking for access, and in your permit, I think it was 32 cabs. You're asking for access to have our roads, our air, for maybe just a couple years you're going to use it here, not being 100% on what you're carrying. There is no way, shape, or form that you were able to actually know what's in each and every single truck. Maybe perhaps you're going to go on customers or whoever. It just seems very icky to me. They're sealed containers you ship. How do you know what the liquid contents of those sealed containers are? You don't. You're real estate. We're talking money here. Let's bring this business. Let's use Wheeling. That's how we're feeling about it.
We have about a minute left.
Okay, sir, I tried to address these I tried to address this ahead of time. I brought all these concerns through some email exchanges. I met with Mr. Jennings in person to kind of say, hey, we're here, we're residents, help us out. I can't. It's just a few pages. If I was able to do that ahead of time, I tried 3 times. Okay, so ABF operated out of the site for almost 30 years. Okay, now, we believe that the site that we're talking about was inappropriately zoned in the 80s. We'll talk about that in a minute. Originally, it was 1974. He's looked into it, yeah. Originally, it was established in 1974, ran however it was, and we'll talk about that one in a minute. We believe this was inappropriately zoned to accommodate ABF. Can you bring me my water, please?
I'm going to give you 2 more minutes.
Excuse me, just 1 minute.
I'm going to give you 2 more minutes, and that's it.
Okay, I'll just get right to what I gotta say then.
This is important to us.
I know it is.
We live here. I tried to bring this up ahead of time, sir. All due respect, I didn't want to do this. We didn't want to do this. We don't want to be here at all. We don't want a trucking company in here. Okay, so I guess we'll just skip to all the other stuff that were picked apart. At this time, we'd like to express our disappointment with the Village Planning Department, Health Department, Village Board for not already having, for lack of a better word, a cap on how much pollution is coming into the village of Wheeling. I had asked Mr. Jennings, what about the Health Department? Is there any kind of governing source that enough is enough? We got the airport, we got 2 trucking companies, a busing company full of diesel. I'm just going to get right directly to that one. I need 2 minutes, please. We went over all this other stuff. Excuse me, 1 second. We're going to get to the medical part of this and the reasons why. Tried to address that, and I asked about the Health Department. We are going to get to the medical part of this, and I'm going to need to be able to complete the entire thing. So if you can just give me a minute here. Sensitive bodies. The EPA, while publishing their air quality reports, they use that as a term to describe people who should not be exposed to pollutants, and they recommend limiting exposure. They use the word sensitive body. Elderly. There's a slow turnover rate on the cellular production of the elderly. Their immune system's at risk. Their healing abilities are at risk when you constantly have invaders, and those invaders include pollution. What kind of pollution? The biggest contributor of pollution, diesel fuels is one of the biggest contributor. Pediatrician is a discipline, I'm going to tie all this together. Discipline that deals with the biological, social, environment influence on the developing child with the effect. Okay, so pediatrician takes care of children, geriatrics takes care of elder. Most of the people in our neighborhood are pediatrics and geriatrics, which is 55 and older. Sorry guys, but we're there. This all ties together because these are sensitive bodies. WHO, the World Health Organization, 1 year ago, June 12th, 2012, declared in a statement. I'm sorry, I'm skipping around, you're rushing me. What does WHO say about this? Declared in a statement that diesel fuels are carcinogenic, they cancer-causing. What's cancer? The death of cells. So we have elderly, we have pediatrics. let's say somebody's immunocompromised, rheumatoid arthritis, you take some drugs, Remicade, whatever it is. Say you have Crohn's disease, say you have cancer. We have a couple children who are actually dealing with some of this. You wouldn't wish these medications on your worst enemy. You wouldn't wish this. And when the organization that governs the medical for Earth, Mother Earth, I'm not talking about anything else other than the World Organization, and I do have what the American Cancer Society says on it after that. I know you're cutting me off. It's wrong. It can't be happening. It's impossible for this to go through. The Village Board, their mission statement is treating all of the residents with respect and dignity. Illinois Department of Aging.
You have 1 more minute.
Illinois Department of Aging. Okay. You've totally thrown me off, and you know what? I tried to address
You knew from the
these
very
first.
beginning that we were talking 5 minutes, and I've given you more than that.
Okay, I'm sure that the Illinois Department of Aging will have attorneys on our side with this. I'm sure we don't want to get attorneys. We don't want to bring this into Wheeling, and oh my God, we're not bringing the scandalous thing. The Chicago Tribune published a week after who declared this. This particular declaration puts diesel exhaust fumes in the same category as mustard gas, asbestos, tobacco, liquor. Enough said.
Thank you.
No, not happening. Mustard gas in my backyard.
Is there anybody else, Andrew?
We have Pat Deal. I'm sorry, is it?
It's
Beal. Excuse me.
You can see how emotionally involved everyone in our neighborhood is. We invite all of you to come and walk around our neighborhood with us. I don't know that this is the appropriate place to be bringing this up, or that we should be attacking this corporation who's just probably trying to abide by Wheeling rules. So I understand a lot of things being said are probably not the proper place for it to be said, but understand that where your trucks will be backing up right along behind it, there's about this much grass filled with garbage, then there's our street that we walk around. It's maybe a Wheeling ordinance, but understand we don't want noise, pollution, garbage. Could there be something that's put up that's permanent that keeps stuff where it belongs? We already pick up in front of my house from all the other corporations that we don't need to talk about and waste anyone's time. Understand we have sick kids. People are emotionally involved. You have people getting mad. No one wants to get mad. Just, we're tax-paying citizens. We pay a lot of taxes. We don't have water. Respect us like you respect the rest of Wheeling. Is there a quiet ordinance in by the schools? We have tons of little kids. And you know, it's just, she's right. We're one family in there. We all love each other. We try to take care of each other, and we would invite you to come and walk with your family around our neighborhood and see what you would do, or maybe recommend what we could do to prevent that from happening. Okay?
That is all we have signed up.
Excuse me, sir, I have one thing to say about the zoning that's very pertinent to all of this.
Okay.
This property was done in '74. It's not a coincidence that in 1981, it happened to be zoned properly the same exact day that ABF got their license, their special use permit. That's not a coincidence. Our understanding, and our neighbors will attest to this, Dr. Jim Abley was my neighbor. First thing he said in there, this company, this was zoned illegally, it was in under our noses. So who cares that there was a trucking company there? Who cares? None of the neighbors will attest to the fact they were not notified. Not notified of the zoning, of the change in zone. So all of a sudden, it was changed. The zoning was changed, and ABF acquired their special use permit the same exact day. This is inappropriate. We're here now. We would have been here then. We were here when the EPA, or I'm sorry, the emissions wanted to come in protesting that. Not okay. You don't belong. We don't want you. It's not just us. It's people in the village of Wheeling. Of course, we have thousands of connections. They're appalled that we're even here tonight. Thank you.
We will now go to questions from the board. I'm going to start with Commissioner Dorban.
Well, I understand that, these things are emotional. I can't help it. It's in your backyard. I understand that. I'm hoping, although I'm not sure it's possible right now because emotions are very, very high, that possibly a representative from Estes and a representative from the homeowners could get together to try to work together to see if we couldn't come to some kind of an agreement or to work something out.
May I respond? In listening to everything that has occurred this evening, as well as, reports from the planner, Mr. Jennings, what I would like to propose before we even go into any additional questions for the evening, I believe with the information that you have presented to me tonight, that I need to do some more homework. I need to talk with ABF. I was not made aware of any existing issues between neighbors and that facility. As I stated earlier, it's a property that is in an existing truck terminal that was marketed. Therefore, we saw it. It was an area that we'd like to do business. So, of course, we made an offer. So I'm hearing a lot of new information, and I would like the time to look at the concerns, talk with ABF, and candidly, if a meeting takes place, it needs to be between ABF, Estes, and the neighbors. Because there are existing issues that I honestly can't address because we've never operated there. And I know that this is emotionally charged, but I also want you to understand that we are a good corporate citizen. We're not some big enemy. You wouldn't be able to go to Home Depot or Lowe's or anywhere to buy your goods.
Into the microphone.
I'm sorry, to buy your goods. I'm going to grab the handheld.
That's fine.
To buy your goods if they weren't delivered by companies like ourselves. We want to be good members of the community, and that's what I want to make sure everyone understands right now, is that I want some time to review this before we even respond and or request to resubmit.
Okay. And that's fine. And it sounds like we're going to probably continue this, but I'm sure the commission members have questions and comments that need to also be addressed in detail, because we're also hearing the concerns of the residents, but not a but, and we want to add to that or possibly give more detail about fencing, landscaping, conditions of the property. So bear with us, because we're going to be asking you questions as we go through this, okay?
That's fine.
All right. Go ahead.
One of my biggest concerns in all this is the existing fence that is in very bad condition. I was there this afternoon, and it's very bad. The property itself is in deplorable conditions. That's not your fault. I understand. The property has been vacant for several years. The lighting obviously is an issue to the homeowners. It's been vacant for a lot of years. They obviously did not have anybody to go to complain to. You happen to be here, so you're getting it.
Absolutely.
It's not your fault. You've tried to lease this thinking that there weren't existing issues, and there are. So we need to clear up those existing issues before we move forward. But I do think that the existing owner has certainly a huge responsibility here. You're coming in as someone who wants to lease this property. It would seem to me that they would want to make this property more presentable and certainly put up a fence behind this property. Hopefully 8 feet, 10 feet would be better, to buffer between the homeowners and this property. And of course, anything that could be done to keep as many fumes and odors and people and noise away from the homeowners would be in everyone's best interest. Also, if this were to go forward, I would hope that there would be somebody from Estes that would be on site all the time, that would be willing to take these kinds of concerns and complaints from the residents, because they have them, and I understand that. But it seems to me, it goes back again to the current homeowner or the current property owner, that they should be doing something. And I'm not sure how that plays out as far as the village is concerned, but it seems to me that you're taking the brunt of something that's been deteriorating for a number of years, and for that I apologize. I think there's, a number of questions certainly that staff has given you on their report, and those would have to all be addressed as well. But I think this, for me, this is the beginning starting point. And I'll let the rest of the commissioners talk.
Thank you. Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you. One question I have for staff, what about the setbacks? What are the regs for setback to create a buffer between commercial, industrial, and residential?
I would have to double check. There's a car parking setback. I don't know that we have a specific trailer setback. I would have to double check that. The setbacks that we have are related to car parking. And a truck freight terminal is a special use, and the conditions around it would get reviewed.
Well, it would seem that a buffer has got to be created, and I would understand that Estes is not, if they're a lessee, they're not responsible for that setback. I would think that has got to be addressed by ABF. But I am very cognizant of the problems that a residential area has with being right next to a industrial commercial type operation. The rest of it can be worked out. My comments. Thank you.
Before I ask another petitioner to question the petitioner, I would ask that we be specific as to what we're looking for, because, and I understand comments, and and comments are fine, but we have an opportunity here, petitioners here. We also have concerns or questions, and so let's be specific as to what we're looking for. You mentioned a setback, and we need to look into that. But any other thing that we specifically are looking for, let's put them out there right now so the petitioner knows and is fully aware of when they come back, what we expect. Okay, so
okay, then I have another thing then. The fencing is got to be more than chain link. It's got to be privacy, and some type of a buffer has got to be established.
any more, sir? Are you done? Okay, great. Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. One of the neighbors was talking about impact wrenches being used at all hours of the night. Are you planning on doing any vehicle maintenance on the site?
No, I did want to clarify, there is not a shop facility at this location, so there would not be that type of work going on at this particular facility.
Okay.
Please.
I think everything else relates to the things that have already come up, that really a lot of it has to be addressed by ABF as the property owner, including the back fence. At least on the east side, it should be a privacy fence. You talked about the lease only being 2 to 3 years.
May I
You have-
respond to that?
Do you have plans after that, or,
That's the only time that ABF has made it available.
okay.
It is not, they did not offer it for lease for any longer than that term. So
So they may have other plans.
I believe that they plan on reoccupying at some time.
Okay, that's all I have.
Commissioner Stylin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, I will ask the question that somebody in the audience, I kind of heard mumble. How do you go about changing a tire on one of the trucks or trailers if you have a problem? Do you...
In a network of transportation facilities, you have some facilities that have shops and some that do not. For example, our McCook facility has a large shop there. Our Elgin facility has a shop there.
So would you repair
So the key
a
is
tire at your current location here?
That is not the usual practice. It would usually be taken care of.
Would you take a tire, remove a tire from a truck or a trailer at this site, potentially using a tool that might make noise? Just yes or no?
To the best of my knowledge, no, because we would not have any shop workers, mechanics located here.
Okay, thank you. You know, it's really interesting to me that, you know, I understand there are diesel trucks that idle 24 hours a day, or at least it seems like they idle 24 hours a day. And, you know, I really find it hard to believe that the Village of Wheeling says that the American Cancer Society that holds their walk at the Wheeling High School has to shut down their music at 11 p.m. because the sound can be heard at the property line, but an idling truck, people making noise, radios playing, that's acceptable. I just find that very interesting that some things are allowed in certain places and not allowed in other places. Just a general comment. You can't do anything about it, that's us. However, we're supposed to have a site plan, and I don't see a site plan. I see a plot of survey. The plot, normally we see designated parking, parking stalls, parking counts, places for tractors, places for locations of trailers designated on the site plan. It's interesting, there is a fire hydrant shown on the plot of survey, and it's got 2 little bumpers around it, which is kind of interesting. But that's about the only other detail that's on the plan. I think we normally require site plan to show adjacent properties and buildings within a certain footage. Andrew, can you tell us what the footage off of a piece of property that we normally like to see adjacent buildings? You know, I'd like to see how close these houses are to this facility.
I think the distance you're referring to is out of the PUD application. I can double check though what it says from a site plan standpoint. I'm not sure if there's if you're asking the building footprint, I would have to look.
Just a location of the front of, you know, adjacent buildings.
Yeah, there could be something. Off the top of my head, I don't know what that is.
Okay, you know, I've heard various comments as to number of trucks, number of trailers, ranging from the mid-20s to the high 20s, and then I heard some other number that was, I think, in the 40s. You know, I'd like to know exactly how many trucks, how many trailers, tractors and trailers we're going to have on the site, whether any of those vehicles will be stored on site for long-term type use, or if they are more transit oriented. Andrew, the residents said that they have some photos. If we can get those from the residents, I'd like to see a couple representative sample photos that they show of garbage and, stuff in our packets so that we're really aware of what the concern is. I presume that Dean Avenue is a village street, as I heard it was going to be repaved. Is that true, do you know?
Yes, it is a village street now.
And do we have any right-of-way requirements for, the village street? It does seem to be very close to the fence on their property, at least the site plan really does, or the plot of survey really doesn't show how close the fence is, but it does appear to be their lot line and the village street seem to be very close together. I'd like to get a little bit more detail on that in the site plan as well. And the gas tanks are an interesting subject. I mean, it's interesting that the current, what did we say the state was, not in use or inactive or something like that. And the petitioner says, I'm not planning on using it, but it sounds like they're coming before us because the site has been inactive for a certain period of time, so our ordinance say they have to come back, but 3 years from now, if they leave the site and then some other tenant moves right in and decides to use that gas tank storage facility, would they need to come back before us, or would they be considered a current active use? And I'd like to discuss the gas tank.
Well, as of right now, there is no use of this property.
Right.
The gas tank itself is related, but it's a somewhat separate issue. There are other regulations that overlap on it. If there is no permitted use of the property, there's no use of the tank.
Right.
I don't know if, Mr. Antor, off the top of your head, if you know if they can reactivate an inactive tank.
Well, first of all, the tank would be approved in an I-3 zoning area as a permissible use. As far as reactivating it, it would have to be inspected by the State Fire Marshal's Office as well as ourselves, and it would have to be found to be code compliant.
But it would not come back before the Plan Commission?
No, it's already an existing site improvement on the property.
I have some concerns there as well.
Jerry?
Yes.
I have Google Maps on here. Do you want to see this?
No.
I can show you a picture.
No.
No, I think we're going to table it. I'd like to gather all that information and put in a packet so we can all take advantage of it. So, and I agree with the other commissioners that, it's not really your property. A lot of this has been brought before you. So, I hope you can work out some agreement with the residential neighbors, and hopefully we can resolve all concerns that everybody has. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Sangara.
Thank you. Actually, I was writing down questions, and they've kind of all been asked, but I just wanted to reissue that. I think when getting this information, I think we'd really like to see the photometrics on this particular one, just to make sure that lighting is, deflectors are being used to not get to the residents. So I'd really like to see that as part of the submittal. And also, I had written down here just, are the trucks, the trailers, do you guys, I know you talked about coming, going. Do trailers sit on the property for days or?
The majority of the trailers are going in and out. For example, a lot of those, what we call city trailers, where I refer to the 20 tractors and trailers that would go out in the morning and the evening, In the evening, once they come back in, yes, those trailers will be sitting on the lot overnight until they're reloaded later in the evening and go out again the next morning. So for that length of time. We are not a yard storage container yard where they will load lots of freight and it may sit for several months. That's not what we do. But I can't say that a trailer may not sit for a few days, especially if it's taken out of the pool or, some, like, freight's down and we're only running 18 instead of 20. But those should be empty trailers waiting for use. So they're not used for storage of product, et cetera. They're used to move freight in and out.
And then my second question is, if they come in at night, leave, does the cab stay there, or they take off? Will the cabs be there overnight?
Since we do not utilize in this operation owner-operators, it's owned equipment by Estes Express Lines, so those tractors would stay on the premises at night. And when I refer to the area where they also plug in diesel and cold climates needs to be able to, be maintained, I'm sure y'all may have issues with that with your own vehicles. So, yes, they would stay on the lot at night.
Okay. And then that was really about it, the lighting, because I had the same questions about the fuel station about being reopened again. So, but that's about all I have.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Powers.
Thanks. I just want to make a couple comments. Most of my questions have been answered. I was kind of taken aback just to hear that you were only going to have it for 2 to 3 years, but you kind of explained that. That really kind of surprised me, and that they were actually leasing it to you. I would hope as part of when you come back, we could see some kind of landscaping plan. I guess the thing is I guess a lot of the repairs that you need to do, I guess, would it be ABF making the repairs? So it's kind of like not your responsibility. You have to take like a list of what needs to get done. Like if we determine something needs to get done, you have to go to ABF for that?
I think there's a little confusion on that. To the extent there are property maintenance issues today, apart from this application, ABF should be addressed. Village code inspectors should be out there taking care of that with ABF. But here, you have a special use application before you. Once you're ready to consider this, you're going to go through the standards of the special use to determine whether or not the standards have been met. And in doing that, you're going to consider whether or not there are conditions that will allow this facility, to help this facility meet the special use standards. Those conditions will be, if there's a recommendation to approve, with conditions, those conditions will be part of an ordinance. Those conditions will have to be met, whether it's by ABF or by the tenant. That's up to them. We don't much care who takes care of that, as long as they're taken care of, so that the special use can be met. That's if there is a recommendation to approve. There may not be, but if there are conditions, whether they're met by ABF or this applicant, it's not important for the Plan Commission or the village. What's important is that they're met. But today, if there are property maintenance issues, and I think we've heard some potentials, those should be looked into, and those are an owner's responsibility. How this tenant and ABF deal with property maintenance, our code says one thing, our special use ordinance is going to say apply other conditions. It's going to be their lease that defines who does what between them. We just want compliance.
Would it be helpful at all to have ABF here?
It's not necessary.
Not necessary.
And if I may address that one specifically, when this was originally presented, because it is a short-term lease, the discussion was we would make the necessary repairs, and then we would deduct that from the lease with ABF. That's how it started. And so the key is that there's a lot of difference between what was presented previously and what is I'm made aware of now.
Right.
So a lot of that, but he is correct. In the end, it's the language that's within the SUP that has to be followed by whomever occupies or works out of that site.
Okay, I have one last question. In the questions for the special use for number 3, staff answered something. It said the proposed 24-hour operation may require some modification to the site in order to minimize the impacts of the surrounding area. What does that mean? Can somebody summarize that?
It is, you're referring to the impacts under the staff review section?
Yeah.
Let me read it one more time and make sure I've finished my sentence.
Is that talking about like the lighting and stuff like that? I mean,
It's referring to the condition of the site as it is.
Okay.
As it is, my review, my staff review of this particular site was that in its condition, pavement, fence on the whole, needed additional modification in order to meet the standards of not having an impact across its property line as it was presented as a 24-hour business with lighting, et cetera. That was my review of it.
Okay, thanks. That clarifies it. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from the commission? No? Okay, so I'm trying to recap, and Andrew, maybe you can help me here. A couple of things that the board is looking for in from you along, and you heard the comments from the residents, is that the fencing, that needs to be upgraded considerably, especially to the east side, but all over. The comments here about 250 feet, that needs to be addressed. And also the landscaping, we need a landscape plan for this property. Also, Commissioner Steinlen talked about not having a site plan. What is the specifics of that site? You know, where is the car? I know it was mentioned that the car parking was to the north, but specifically, you know, where is it on a site plan? The photometrics, I heard that. Commissioner Steinlen, I believe you talked about how many trucks you were discussing that, and I heard 27 maximum in and out. But was there something more that you were looking?
Well, I think in the past for truck terminals and FedEx, et cetera, we asked for, you know, how many tractors they were going to have on site and parking spots for tractors, parking spots for trailers. Where are your loading dock stalls, because they can be counted as tractor parking. You know,
so that's specifics to the site plan.
Right.
Right. Okay. Okay. Commissioner Powers.
In the August 20th memo, it said it makes a mention to 60 trailers and 32 tractors operating on the site. So that's in the letter. I see that.
The clarity on that is that in parking, pups are 2, they equal the same length as a 53-footer. So in terms of, and you're going to have some that come in and out and don't stay. So that's where those numbers are in terms of, but for the actual, to meet the count of a 53-foot trailer stall, and that would be better reflected. We used the site plan that had already been submitted to the city. That's what we gave. That was what was on record. I can understand for clarity where you'd like to see more detail as to where everything goes.
Yes.
So I can understand that.
Maybe like how the traffic would flow on the site too. I don't know if it's.
Just so you understand, that's not necessarily a rule exactly.
No,
they always come in one direction.
If we just, I mean, we'll see a site plan, so maybe we can just figure it out from there.
Yeah, I can give you the basic, but I can't say that that's
That's
exactly
fine.
how it always happens, sure.
Andrew, is there anything else?
Just in your recap just now, the only thing that wasn't covered was discussion, consideration related to the underground storage tank.
Oh, that's right. Okay. More information on that. Okay.
There was a question previously regarding the, I believe there was the extent of the paving. There was a question about the condition of the paving. Or was it this end?
I don't know, but it was pretty, seemed pretty sparse. There was a lot of weeds and stuff. I think somebody asked the question, the condition of the asphalt and stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty, so I think the asphalt repairs, max of 6 repairs at 16.
160 square feet, I think.
Well, this says 16 square feet each. I think that needs to be reviewed too, as you can.
The key is what we presented was where the actual potholes are. That's what we were at the time going to be taking care of.
Okay.
In the lease, it was designated that ABF, because of the condition of the yard, that they would have to do any of the other work. We were just going to do the patch to get in. So I do understand, and I'll make sure that that's reviewed with ABF.
Okay, great. Perfect. Right. Are there any other questions? Mr. Furlow, is this a continuation?
It's most to continue. Given the new information that will be coming, the public hearing should be continued for further comment to the extent there is any.
Okay. Do we have a date? You have everything, you're clear on what?
I think so. I'd like to ask a couple of questions
Okay,
and then maybe
fine.
go to the
Please
date.
do.
With everything that I've heard this evening, maybe I like to turn around a little bit.
That's all right.
I want to make sure that I do some homework. And one of the things I want to make sure that I do discuss with you all is, from what I heard earlier, is just no. From other parties, I heard specific concerns about like height of a fence and/or from other parties a wall, things of that as a buffer. What I would like to be able to do in listening here, I think that eastern property line is the important line. And code-wise, I don't think you really have something that allows for like a 15-foot wall. But perhaps, reviewing what could actually be installed as a buffer would need to be reviewed. As well as I will review if it can come in some. I need to look at the site distance and all that kind of stuff, but those are all things I would like to review. Sure. And I'm going to do that first before I even go to ABF, because we run the same type of operation. I can red flag any issues before I even get there. But from a community standpoint, if we put more time and money into that rear lot line of building something higher, better buffers, is that more important than a lot of additional landscaping?
Fleet of diesel trucks brings in gases that are known to cause cancer.
Okay, then okay. That's just what I wanted to. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. Okay. So with you all, then we kind of know what we need to review and whether or not we want to continue, and I'll need a little time to do that. So I definitely don't need to be on the docket before November. I think it'll take us a good 30 days to review all the aspects with this and see if we can set up a meeting, or if, we don't need to do that. I'm not sure.
In addition, is it Mrs. Lagoria?
Yes, sir.
You said you had some pictures.
I have pictures on my phone if you need to.
If you can, no. If you can send the pictures to Mr. Jennings, and then I'm asking her for pictures that she has, that we then can share, instead of passing around your phone, we might start making calls or something, and then you don't want those minutes on your, so if you can have those.
I will take proper pictures. You need to see the length of the fence.
We need to see your concerns. You said you have pictures. Please send those. Okay. All right, great, thank you. And you talked about were you talking about meeting with the residents also at some point in time?
Based on commissioners' concerns and my concerns, that is something I would like to review after we look at all of the issues to see if it is something we want to continue.
So what I will ask you to do is, when you're ready for that, talk to Mr. Jennings, and Mr. Jennings will talk to a representative from the neighborhood to arrange that.
Perfect.
Okay?
I appreciate that.
And I would, you have a very cohesive group there. What I would suggest you do is you have one or two people that you want to designate as that, so you can have some conversations with Mr. Jennings and the representative. So if you get those names to Mr. Jennings, whoever that is, to have that meeting. And it could turn out to be a town hall meeting, I don't know, but let's try to get that representative there and work through that, okay? So if you could give that to Mr. Jennings, that'd be great, okay?
Considering then this going forward, even though I told you all this other
What-
stuff, still goes forward.
Well,
People living here, we're your citizens.
well, the petitioner's asking for a continuation, and that's what we're giving her. We're giving her that continuation to address the concerns and things like that, okay? Great, thank you very much. Do we have a motion to continue?
I believe we're looking at petitioners requested November. I believe November 14th we would have available at this time.
That would be acceptable, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion to continue to November 14th.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Johnson, second by Commissioner Dorban. Mr. Secretary?
Commissioner Johnson says yes. Commissioner Dorban?
Yes.
Commissioner Powers?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaaf?
Yes.
Commissioner Stylen?
Yes.
Commissioner Zangara?
Yes.
And Chairman Rafato.
Yes.
Thank you.
Those specific items are typed up. We can get you the minutes of the meeting as well, but those specific items are typed up. We'll hand them to you right now, so you
Thank
can
you.
take them back with you. And for those who came out tonight, the continuation of this hearing means that there will not be a public discussion on this until November 14th on the special use. We'll be in touch regarding your photographs, as well as once the petitioner has a chance to review, possibly setting up a meeting, okay?
Yes.
Sure.
This community being so small, we didn't need a big trucking company. You already have people with this organization, two of them being on Chatty, and the third one being over Van East Letters. You got a lot of traffic already, they have to learn.
So procedurally, what happens at this point, when you have a special use, the Plan Commission, what's going to happen now, the Plan Commission's continued this hearing. So the continuation of that hearing will be in November. If they are still pursuing this operation at this location, they'll come back that night, go through their response to all these questions. The Plan Commission then takes in all of the testimony of the public, takes in the testimony from the petitioner. They make a recommendation to the village board on the total package. So they take everything in, they make a recommendation to the elected officials of the village, who then make the ultimate vote as to whether or not this would be approved.
Thank you. Ready the next one?
Straight ahead?
Yeah. Ready? Next docket, number 2013-21. John Deere Landscapes, 658 South Wheeling Road, special use site plan approval for outdoor storage.
We're skipping 19 completely.
Oh, we can do that. Okay, do we need to open up?
They are continued and not opened. They failed to meet the public notice.
So we don't have to say?
We don't
have to open it?
Because their notice is a third correct, we're going to go ahead and continue for anyone who is following it. We'll continue it specifically to October 17th.
Do I
We do
need to
need a
make a
motion.
motion?
We do need a motion on that.
Motion to continue.
There's a motion on the floor to continue docket number 2013-19, La
Authentica
Michoacana.
Michoacana.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, docket, thank you, Mr. Secretary, for pointing that out to me. Docket number 2013-21, John Deere Landscapes, 658 South Wheeling Road, special use site plan approval for outdoor storage. Mr. Secretary.
Jeffrey M. Schnoll, is that correct?
I'm Jeffrey H. Meyer, Jeffrey Schnoll's business partner.
Okay.
Okay, great.
As property manager, seeking special use site plan approval as required under Chapter 1907 Industrial Districts, Chapter 1910 Use Regulations, Chapter 1912 Site Plan Approval Requirements, and associated sections to establish outdoor storage greater than 400 square feet in area for John Deere Landscapes located at 658 South Wheeling Road, Wheeling, Illinois.
Mr. Jennings?
Staff does not have any additional comments at this time. What we'd like to do is go ahead and have the petitioner make a presentation.
Are you both going to be speaking tonight?
As needed.
Okay, so if you could both raise your right hand, you swear the testimony you give tonight to be the truth?
Yes.
And if you could give your name and business address to our recording secretary, you've already done that? No? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Meyer. I'm with Schnall and Company. We're the managing member of this multi-tenant office warehouse building located at 600 to 668 South Wheeling Road. And we are here tonight seeking a special use and plan approval for the construction of a new outdoor storage area in the property that would be on the south side of our parking lot, taking up 14 spaces. This would be fully enclosed. We have an existing enclosure to the west of the building. John Deere Landscaping has been our tenant for 10 years and was previously located on the west side of the building. 5 years ago, moved to the south side. We still have the outdoor facility on the west side, but we're looking to build a new one on the south side, which would be directly across from John Deere's facility at 658 South Wheeling. The purpose for this construction of this new storage area is both the convenience for their customers, who landscape professionals and whatnot, for them to be able to come right where their facility is located, place their orders and pick up directly across the street across the parking lot from them. And it also allows John Deere to be a lot more efficient in their own operations as far as going down halfway past the building every time there's a new order to get the landscape materials and bring them back to where they were, or have the customer go to the other location within the parking lot. The reason we are bringing this at this point is that our current 5-year lease with John Deere is set to expire at the end of April of 2014, and it has been made clear to us that without this additional enclosure directly across from their current location, that they will be, it's their intention to move elsewhere to another facility. We certainly don't want to lose John Deere. They've been a model tenant. They're the nation's largest landscaping supply distributor wholesaler in the country. They're easy to get along with. They run an extremely clean operation. And we've enjoyed our partnership with them for the past 10 years, and hopefully we'll extend that for many years to come. For John Deere, the benefits for our building is they're well established already within the community at this location. It works very well with them and with both their employees and as well as the customers. And the third benefit, I think, is to any village, a village like this, a village or Wheeling, who has a company like John Deere, as successful as they are, generates an awful lot of sales tax revenue for the communities in which they are in. And by them not leasing our property and continuing to lease from us, they've also indicated to us that they would be looking at other municipalities, and have actually been approached by other municipalities for that very same purpose of the tax, the sales tax revenue that's generated by their operations. So that is why we're here this evening, and we'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Very good.
Is there anyone in the audience that has any questions to what was just presented?
Nobody left.
Nobody left. Okay. We'll go to the commissioners. Commissioner Schaaf.
Thank you. You mentioned an existing enclosure. Does that remain?
Yes, and it's
Okay, so you're going to have two enclosures.
We'll have two enclosures, one to be exclusively used by John Deere, which would be the southern part of the parking lot directly across from their current location. The existing enclosure would now become our place to locate everyone's trash containers in one centralized area.
Okay, so you're going to consolidate your enclosure to the new one, and then turn the other one over to
trash containers.
Trash container.
And currently, we have up to 33 tenants in the complex in the building. the trash dispensers, we don't have any outside fenced-in area for those trash
Okay.
containers currently.
Yeah, I get the picture.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's fine. That answers the question. Staff, I do believe, brought up the effect of neighboring businesses, and I was wondering how, if you have discussed this with the other tenants, got their feelings on it, because I don't know.
As far as our neighbors, just directly to the south of us is an open field. It's a retention.
No, the
other tenants within.
Within the complex.
Yeah, we've never had a complaint about the existing enclosure, and we haven't gone around and asked each of the tenants that opens up.
Okay, because you are taking 14 spots. I don't know if that's going to affect. Does the parking, Andrew, the parking still computes, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't really see a problem with that. I just wondered if you had made your intentions known to other tenants.
It's directly across from John Deere. So the majority of the parking is that which is directly in front of their spot. This whole complex, it has 324 parking spots, and this will take up 14. So now it's down to 310. And it's 135,000 square feet. So
yeah, and Andrew's already confirmed that the parking won't be affected by that. But my question had to do with, have you contacted your neighboring tenants?
No.
Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. On this one drawing we have, next to the new fenced-in area, it says new concrete pad.
There's an area, there is 5 feet. Well, no, that's an existing concrete pad. It should have said, it should have said new, it should have said existing.
Okay. I was wondering what that was for.
Yeah, no, that's already, because that's where the trucks are backing up into one of the 3 common area truck docks. For the placement of this new pad for the new outdoor storage area, we would be going 4 to 5 feet south of where the parking lot currently ends up until the property line. And so there's a concrete, the concrete pad is that extension of 125 feet, 4 to 5 feet in depth. But the majority of it would be built in the existing asphalted parking lot.
What's primarily stored in this? I mean, when you talk about landscape materials?
Sure. And from what I heard tonight, there's a lot of landscaping going on in Wheeling. We store PVC pipe in 20-foot lengths. We store poly pipe in rolls. That's palletized and shrunk wrap. We store baled peat moss. We store bagged topsoil. And we store drain tile.
Oh, okay.
So this is all stuff that can sit outside. It's all finished goods. It's palletized or bundled. Everything that we have in the existing yard fits below the top of the fence, so it's not visually available.
Good. Okay, and then the last thing I had, the construction of the fence itself, is it just all wood, or are you using steel posts?
It's a steel frame, and just like the existing outdoor storage area, it's a strong steel frame, but then with the solid wood planks. You can't see through it.
All right. Thank you. That's all I had.
Commissioner Steinle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is not something that I would normally approve for a new building coming into town, putting a contractor's storage yard in the middle of a parking lot. I mean, to me, it just doesn't make sense at all. There's an existing, according to the diagram, there's an existing area for parking stalls, and there appears to be, at least from the site plan, a buffer of some kind to the lot line, wherever it is. I know that today it's a grassy area, but I don't know where the lot line is because there's a lot of grass there. And, you know, it appears that you're going to build this big rectangular thing right in the middle of the parking lot and right up adjacent to the property line. You know, I would much rather see it in the back, you know, expand your existing facility, do whatever is necessary to, you know, make that the place that's really where it belongs. And, you know, I'm sorry if we have to lose you as a business in town. You know, I don't want to do that, but I just don't think it sets a good precedent about putting a contractor's storage yard right in the middle of a parking lot. You know, I'm sorry.
Sure, I understand your concerns. If I could clarify too on the dumpsters, we're going to take a number of loose dumpsters that are scattered all around the parking lot and put them in this corral where you're not going to see them anymore. That will actually free up some parking spots.
I'm not worried about the parking spots. Okay. I'm more concerned about the aesthetics of putting a big square storage facility in the middle of a parking lot that occupies 14, you know, by 20 some odd feet area. So
I understand.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
From John Deere's perspective, the incentive here is, like Jeff said, to increase our efficiency. We also see that it's safer because we're driving our forklifts less distance. We will, of course, maintain our John Deere standard of having a good, clean yard. Is there a preferred material that may change your opinion on the fence?
I just don't think it belongs in that particular location. Any kind of storage facility doesn't belong in the middle of a parking lot. You know, I'm sorry.
Just, if I may, a couple points. John Deere initially was on the west side of the building. Those units are 3,300 square feet compared to close to 8,000 what they currently have. And their size of their operation, it just isn't feasible. We also have 5 other tenants on that side who have been there for the past 10 years as well. And, you know, smaller units are difficult to find in an office warehouse facility. And we have great relationships with all of them. We don't see any of those opening up to allow additional space for John Deere. Aesthetically, while we are creating this nice fenced-in area, we are not only increasing the parking by getting the dumpsters that are scattered outside out of some parking stalls, but also it's a win for aesthetics in the building of being able to take all these dumpsters and putting them in an isolated area no one's going to see. I think the new fence, and you can take a look at the photos, that the new fence itself is more aesthetic, more aesthetically pleasing than it is scattered trash receptacles all throughout the property.
I hear you, you know, but if you could cover it up with a lot of landscaping somehow, hide the fact that it's a storage yard in the middle of a parking lot, then I might be a little more in favor. But as it stands right now, you know, it just looks like a storage facility in the middle, stuck in the middle of a parking lot. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If I would, with the landscaping, just to the west of there is a mini forest. So you already have landscaping blocking from the west, looking that direction. And we've constantly put money back into the facility, landscaping being one of them. And we would certainly have no problem at all putting appropriate, you know, treed landscapes around it to, on the grass area, if that's what it would take to,
I'm more worried about the attempting to somehow isolate it from the parking lot, because it looks like it was just, I hate to say it, dumped in the middle of a parking lot. If you make it look like it was an island, separated from the parking lot by, some bushes or a hedge or something around the front parking area, so it looks like it kind of fits in, then maybe, but,
and one last point, this is a light industrial facility. It's not a retail, it's not residential. It is an industrial property that we are certainly cognizant of making look as nice as possible to attract our tenants and to maintain a nice place to work. And it's not something out of the ordinary, given the type of tenant base that we do attract, to have something like this in a facility like this.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Zangara.
I was thinking kind of on the same aspects here of if you had in the front, if you had like a 3-foot, you're going to be digging holes to put the post in anyways. If you cut out 3 feet of asphalt there, put a curb in, can you landscape in front of the fence just to hide the actual of a 8-foot fence to break up that?
I think anything's possible, but then you're kicking out, and our concern is being an industrial property where you do have big vehicles, trucks, trailers passing through, is then you're now going further north, and I don't, given what space we have, whether it's feasible then to move the area that's going to be in front of the fence up northerly, and still have that wide access. We probably would be able to do that. It is a wide parking lot, and we're very fortunate on that. But I imagine anything's possible.
Yeah, otherwise, I understand where they're coming from, business point, I understand, it really, looking at the pictures driving by, I don't see, it's not fully, the lot is open. I understand where that's coming from. I would maybe it's just something to break it up. I can't put my finger on it right now, but the storage itself, I guess the other question I had to that is the operations. I saw the old one. There's no lights in there or anything. It's just you're closed by 5 o'clock or...
We have 2 sets of hours. They're seasonal.
Okay.
So in season, we're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, and 8 till noon on Saturday.
Okay.
Off season, we're closed Saturdays and still open 7:30 to 5.
Okay. Like I said, my biggest comment would be some kind of landscaping or just something to break up, 125 feet of wooden fence. That's really about what I have.
And if I can, just comment on that. We've never had a complaint from any of the tenants about the existing wood fence and needing to put any kind of landscape or anything else in front of it. We try to make it actually as nice as possible and as solid as possible. From Wheeling Road, the drive up to our building, we're actually kind of set up higher. So from Wheeling, you won't be able to even see the storage facility that we're proposing from that. It would be the aesthetics you're talking about would be more, I guess, for our existing industrial clients. And like I said, they've had absolutely no problem with the current structure, and it's been out there for 10 years.
Well, I guess the other thing was, I see in the back there was a lot of room from the building to that fenced area. Would you have any problems with this is a little closer? The parking lot, people backing up, hitting the fence. In the back there, it looks like there's a lot of room. You wouldn't miss it all. Here, I'm just wondering, someone,
I actually
especially would come with trailers and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I actually think that, because there is a row of cars, there's actually, I think, 2 rows of cars and the west side of the building, between the building and the existing outdoor storage. Here, you don't have that, you don't have the rows of parking in between, you just have it up against the building. So actually, I think there's more room on this than there is in back.
Okay. That's all I have.
Commissioner Powers.
Thanks. How does the size of the new area compare to the one in the back?
It's smaller.
The one in, the new one is
The new one
smaller?
is smaller, correct.
Okay.
But it would be certainly sufficient for John Deere. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, and I mean, our intention to be here is to be able to extend our arrangement with them.
Yeah, I took the site plan that's up here, I went out to the site and I walked the 14 spaces to the west and I looked straight ahead to the north and it was covering all but like two of the Weston Arc Performances spots. They were gone. So it's like, I don't know if that's, really a concern. I'm not sure if Arc Performance even knows this is even going in, but it's going to take some spots away from them. Another concern I would have with the fence is that the spots on the west side of the new area, if somebody was parked in there and they were trying to back out, there may be sightline problems. I mean, somebody could be coming through there and backing out and, there could be an accident there. Waiting to happen, I don't know. The other thing too is I saw on the site you had three trucks parked there, in there. And I also saw a landscaper's truck parked with his trailer stretched across probably 5 or 6 of the spots. I mean, when somebody comes in there and you have to deliver equipment to them, what do they normally do? The trucks just pull in there with the trailer and, would they be pulling in front of the fence, potentially blocking cars trying to go to the back? How does that work when they need to take a delivery? I don't know why a landscaper would come with a truck and a trailer parked there. I guess he's picking up equipment or something, but to me, to have that type of traffic in there, I'm just really not sure about it.
Okay, a couple things that I think, do you want to address first, ma'am?
Sure. Well, please understand that about 25% of our business we deliver outbound.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't see those customers at our facility. Second, most of the landscapers that do pull in there are in and out in 10 minutes or so. We don't sell mowing equipment out of that facility. We do sell some small handheld equipment. So they're not coming there for large pieces of equipment. Outside of that, we really think that the new setup will actually be more conducive to parking because when we're pulling the materials out of the yard, their trucks and trailers will be right there. As opposed to driving down the parking lot with a bundle of 20-foot wide PVC. So really, this is a safety-driven first and efficiency second initiative on our end.
Okay, I'm not in favor of it, and I understand why you were going to move the garbage cans. When I was there, I only saw like 6 or 7 roll-offs, and I'm really not sure how the customer, I mean, he has his roll-off right in front of his place, and you're going to put him in the back, so he's got to go carting it to the back, so garbage could start blowing too. All kinds of things can happen. I guess just in general, I just can't see it because even if you were to leave eventually, I mean, then we have a gated area, and to me, it just seems out of place.
Just a couple points, if I may. This is a very wide area, and even if a vehicle is going to park temporarily parallel to our proposed lot, or proposed storage area, there'd be plenty of room for cars to travel in each direction. Also, the fence itself, moving northward, isn't any further than the extension of where the parking stalls are currently. So whether it's a row of trucks for an industrial business or this fence, you're still going to have some blockage that, if at all, there is blockage for the traffic. And then the last thing is, actually, Arc Performance is near the front of the building. The one that's right next to John Deere is Spider Gym.
Spider Gym, I'm sorry,
yeah.
Wrong one.
And with Spider Gym, as with Arc, the Spider Gym is a martial arts facility. And the vast majority of their clientele comes late afternoon, early evening, and on weekends. And so you don't have the same, if it was going to be a nightmare parking-wise in the first place, we went to lease to them, to begin with. But knowing when their clientele is going to be there, it works well with the facility.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Commissioner Dorbin.
Thank you. I'm just kind of curious, when we have something like this, do we not notify the neighbors somehow?
There's overlapping notice. So the letters go out to the owners of property. The tenants of this property would drive by the public hearing sign. That would be the form of notice that they would pick up. The newspaper also, but I think the most likely form of notice that would catch the tenant's eye would be the public hearing sign.
But the tenants specifically don't get notified?
They don't receive a letter, that's correct.
Okay, because I think that's one of my concerns, is that, you're going to put this right in the middle of where their parking is. And I'm not sure how much traffic they get, but just from looking at their hours, they're pretty much open a lot during the day, and that could hurt them too. The other thing is when I was there today, I'm thinking about envisioning this building, for another lack of word, but this storage area it's like a thumb sticking out. And I'm just a little concerned about the fact of the way it's going to look and what's going to happen to the other tenants. If it was in the back, I wouldn't have a problem with it. It's not what I would envision in the middle of a parking lot.
As far as in the middle of the parking lot, it's actually on the southern end of the edge of the parking lot. And you have to remember, this is an industrial building, and it isn't a place where visitors are coming and shopping, or a lot of meetings are held. It's office warehouse, where the vast majority of people who come are those who work there, whether it's in a warehouse, a storage, or a distribution facility, or front office and sales. But it's not the type of property, being a light industrial building such as this. I don't think a fence like this is.
Except based on the hours of ARC and based on the hours of the Spider Gym, I'm not sure that they wouldn't be effective.
Well, ARC in the front of the building, there's an awful lot of parking up there, and there's even more parking than west of where John Deere is to the back.
I guess I would like to hear from them. I'm a little disappointed that they don't know, and I guess I'd like to hear from them how they feel about it, where their patrons park.
I would say that.
If that's the case, they park on the other side, then it's not an issue.
Sure. The notice of public hearing has worked, because we have had conversations without the landlord directly, because we're there on a daily basis. And most of them are excited about the fact that the dumpsters are going to be out of view. I think it's also noteworthy to understand how we use that space right now. Where the yard is currently on this diagram is essentially where we park those 3 trucks right now. So we will be taking those 3 trucks and putting them in the back of the building and using the space we sort of already use. The parking stalls that you see adjacent to the building, we tie up the majority of those with our employees and have very little overlap with the Spider Gym. So, because I'm there on a daily basis, I know the trends. Great questions and observations, but thus far the feedback from our neighbors has been positive, and really we're kind of already tying up that whole space anyway. This would be better, more visually appealing in my opinion, than 3 trucks sitting there. So those are my thoughts on that area. I know the pictures and the diagram maybe don't do it justice. But that's what it's like on a daily basis.
That's all I have, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Is this a retail? I mean, can I go in there and
Yeah,
purchase anything?
if you come in, we will sell to you. Our focus is wholesale. The commercial contractor, the municipality, the golf course.
I was just curious.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the vast majority of what you're selling is in bulk as well. I mean, it's not the small items of an individual picking up.
Correct.
Something small for their own garden.
Correct.
I heard a number of things from the commission today, and we talked, I think Commissioner Styling, Commissioner Zangara talked about possibly adding some type of landscaping to this to make it more attractive. But then again, I think the more of the overarching was the concern of where it was at and in regard to the parking. So I'm looking for some suggestions here as to whether is there anything that, I'm not certain how people are going to vote as to where, if there's anything more that can be done with this, that, or should we, at this time, take a vote on this? Commissioner Styling.
I'd just like to ask a question. You have a sliding gate on the new proposed facility, and the only dimension that I see on the gate is that it's 8 foot high. And you say you store 20-foot lengths of pipe. How wide does this gate open up to?
In order for us to get bundles of 20-foot PVC, we don't even need the 8 foot. We need 6 feet wide, and we pull the pipe up and lift it over. So as we're approaching the gate, we raise the mast of the forklift, and as soon as we're through, we lower it down.
So there would be considerable room for a lot of potential landscaping in front of it, if you could squeeze it in somehow.
Yeah, having been there for 6 years now, really the view that I would be concerned about is on the east side of the proposed yard. That's visible to the tenants to the east of us. On the south side, you've got the full exposure of the length of that fence to northbound traffic on Wheeling Road. But really the western end and the northern end, to me, are non-issues because the western end is more or less hidden by the woods.
Well, I'll agree on the western end, okay? But the typical use of your property in Wheeling seems to be going towards educational kinds of uses, training kinds of uses, baseball training, all kinds of facilities that allow general public from the area to come into your building. It isn't like you're a businessman, you go there every day and then you leave. We see a lot of trends coming in where your kind of facilities are attracting more general public uses than specific people, I don't know what to say, specific business user type uses. And I don't want to do anything that would prohibit that. And that's why I'm kind of going for trying to improve the aesthetic aspects so that we don't hinder the use of those kinds of new uses in the future.
First of all, we have 2 of those type of facilities now, Spider Gym and Arc Performance. And we have, quite frankly, turned down an awful lot of prospective tenants because if their businesses run throughout the day, let's say it's a tennis facility, which our space isn't big enough for, but something like that where it's used throughout the day, it wouldn't work for this facility. Even though we have abundant parking for an office warehouse facility, we don't have it for a big sports complex, and we have turned down many. So that's on that one.
Anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And if I may, just one last thing, just thinking about this, because we hadn't before, to put to landscape in front of the fence, that would, I guess, prevent a buffer of John Deere looking out and seeing their own fence. That would prevent the vehicles, the customers, and the landscape contractors to just pull up parallel against that fence.
Okay.
For easy loading in and out.
Okay, so any other questions or comments? Okay. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Commissioner Schaaf. Commissioner Johnson?
Can I?
Yes.
I have the conditions.
Oh, I'm sorry. I keep on forgetting about that.
I had made by Johnson and seconded by
Schaaf.
Okay, the staff report conditions. Number one, property management shall provide carts for the tenants to transport trash to the trash enclosure at the rear of the property. And then number two, which is that the proposed enclosure shall be located on a paved surface. The third item I added after we received the list of materials was that materials to be stored in the new enclosure shall be kept on file with the village and updated regularly. And number four relates to construction and easement. We have a standard affidavit acknowledging construction and easement is done at your own risk. So number four is the petitioner and property owner submit standard village affidavit relating to construction and easement. With those, Commissioner Johnson, who made the motion, and Commissioner Schaaf, who seconded.
My motion remains.
Okay.
This is to recommend approval? The motion?
Yes, motion to recommend approval. Commissioner Johnson?
Commissioner Johnson, I vote yes. Commissioner Schaaf?
I vote yes.
Commissioner Doorband?
No.
Commissioner Powers?
No.
Commissioner Stylen?
No.
Commissioner Zangara?
I'll say yes.
And Chairman Rufato?
Yes.
4 yes, 3 no.
Motion carries.
Motion carries.
We will forward this to the village board for their review. Most likely, at this point, getting pretty full for the first meeting in October. I can't promise. We don't set their agenda. So I will check in with them. Please contact us, and we'll let you know which agenda it's been set for, okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
And we need, before I print, a motion to close, please.
A motion to close?
Second.
Voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry. Yeah. You have something to sign. Approval of minutes for September 12th.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We'll just wait for us to sign this before we go into the next step. One more.
John Deere. Miniature.
That's so frozen and still for me.
I know this is going to be a long. Thank you, sir. Nothing? Got paper?
Flashing it?
It shuts down after 10.
Just give that one to Brooke. I'll give this. Other business, Mr. Jennings?
Thank you. I have one brief announcement. We have a upcoming event, which we just sent out the press release for, the pedestrian and bicycle path that we've been constructing along Dundee Road.
Have you personally been constructing that?
I saw him out there.
You and Brooke?
This is the closest I've been myself to constructing something.
Yeah.
But yeah, we the village have been constructing a pedestrian and bicycle path along the Forest Preserve property on Dundee Road. It is about 100% complete. There's a little bit of work to do tomorrow. The dedication of that path is scheduled for October 11th, which is a Friday at 10:30 in the morning. We're going to dedicate the path to honor a former Wheeling resident who is in the National Bicycling Hall of Fame. She currently lives in Florida. Probably her most notable Wheeling-related event was back in 1990 when she biked across the country at the age of 75. She's coming for the dedication. Her name is Phyllis Harmon. She will be there
She's 90.
She'll be 97, I believe, in October.
My goodness.
She's not riding here, is she?
She's not riding here. We're dedicating that. We're very happy to have somebody like that we could honor in this way. So we're excited to dedicate this path to recognize all the efforts that she had. This is very symbolic of the efforts that she made to connect people with cycling and people to their community. So October 11th, Friday morning, 10:30 in the morning, we'll be meeting at the Forest Preserve shelter just north of Dundee Road in the Potawatomi Woods.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, Commissioner Dorbin?
Two things. The market that is on the north side of Dundee Road, just west of Wolf, I believe, has excessive signage. In fact, I don't think you can see out at all. The other thing is, I know there's been very slow movement on Starbucks, but it's like they're there every other day. Do we know what's going on?
I don't have any additional detail right now. I can try to find out.
Anything? Nothing? Nobody? Okay. That's all.
Commissioner Zangara?
I got nothing right now. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson?
Nothing.
Commissioner Schaaf?
One thing I've been running through my mind, it seems to me that I heard that Tony Stavros said that we were going to build a sidewalk on the west side of the bridge on Northgate Parkway. And I just don't see where that sidewalk could be. Do you remember anything about the sidewalk being planned for that area?
We have looked at ways to try to get the sidewalk across the bridge.
Yeah.
Cantilevering's one option. Having a totally separate structure is another option. We've also looked at reusing existing space on the bridge structure and raising a sidewalk above what the current platform is. So I don't know if we've decided which way it would be.
Oh, okay, but it's...
But we are looking at trying to, as we are planning for the sidewalk to be constructed, we'd like to be able to get people across the bridge when they get there. So we are looking at it.
Good, because I just couldn't envision it. That's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Powers?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Stylin?
Why, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Andrew,
I just blanked on your name, which I find amazing.
Nice job on the bicycle path, sidewalk path. I think that'll be a real nice addition, and I hope that no pygmy rattlesnakes were harmed in the construction of the sidewalk. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Ferrillo, any comments?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I have nothing. Just a reminder, again, October 24th, I will not be here. Be bringing my way. Is there a motion to
So
adjourn?
moved.
So moved. Oh, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Thank you all.
Jim, when did you say you weren't going to be?